Good morning, everybody. I was kind of waiting on that Travis, but there he is. We're okay. So I've got that it is 8:32. So I will call Financial Management Committee meeting for February to order. We are meeting electronically due to the global pandemic, COVID-19, to ensure everybody's safety. I'm glad to see that our county numbers for the virus have gone down and the virus inoculations have gone up. So that's exciting, but that is why we're meeting electronically. I don't believe I'm seeing Michael yet. Michael, are you here?
I'm not saying Michael either.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go ahead and call the roll to show that we have a quorum and who's present. So Commissioner Brad Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Patty Whitley.
Here.
Director of Schools Tracy McAbee.
Here.
Road Superintendent Roger Cobal.
Here.
Commissioner and Vice Chair Travis Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Austin James.
Here.
And Commissioner Ginger Holdren is present. So Michael, I just did the roll and we have 7 out of 7 members present.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry about being late.
It's okay. Thank you.
5 laps around the monument for being late. Isn't that right, Chairwoman?
It's a little cold this morning.
Why don't we do the covered bridge, and that way you can do 2 sports. He can swim and run.
Make it interesting.
That's a good idea. That'll teach you.
Okay. We will now look over the agenda for today that Michael sent out to us on Friday afternoon. And just so everybody knows, he waited till Friday to see if I was going to have documents ready, and I didn't. He would have had these out earlier in the week, but he waited for me. So looking over that agenda, would anybody object if we allowed our county trustee to move up on our agenda, maybe to place number 1 under old business? And then that would just slide everything else down to positions 2, 3, and 4 under old business. Would that be okay with everybody if we do that? Okay.
Madam Chair, if it's not any more changes or additions or omissions from that, I presently move that we accept as amended and to move our trustee up to the number 1 slot in our old business.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Kennedy, if you'll call the roll for approval of the agenda today.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Ginger Holton,
Yes.
Austin James,
Yes.
Travis Hill,
Yes.
Roger Cobalt,
Yes.
Patty Woodby,
Yes.
and Tracy McAbee.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Now, I hope everybody's had a chance to read the minutes from our January meeting. Those are up for review and approval at this time. I do have one word I think should be inserted, Mr. Kennedy. But I do want to thank you for an excellent job on these minutes. I believe it was page 3, Michael, where you were talking about the Excel sheet that I made for last month. At the very top of page 3, first paragraph, you said the Excel presented. I think you just need to put sheet in there, the Excel sheet, or the word spreadsheet, either one, I don't care. Do you see where I'm at, Michael?
I do see it now.
Okay, All right, does anybody else have any corrections for the minutes?
Chairwoman Holden,
Yes.
this is Sandra. Reading over the minutes, I did not see my request that we get the information from the other counties about their amount per penny. That had been in the minutes.
It should have been.
Thank you.
So, Michael, you may, I don't know if you need to play the tape back to put it in its chronological order, but she did request that. So it should be reflected in these minutes. Any other corrections? Okay, I'll entertain a motion if you all are ready to approve these as corrected.
Motion
make
to
that motion.
approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mayor Woodby, second by Commissioner Hill. Okay, and if you'll do a roll call, Michael, we'll vote on the approval of the January minutes as corrected.
All right, Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Austin James, Austin James. We'll come back to him. Travis Hill,
Yes.
Roger Cobalt,
Yes.
Patty Woodby,
Yes.
Tracy McAdoo,
Yes.
and Austin James.
Yes.
There we go. All ayes.
Okay, thank you. Now it is time for public comments. If anybody that's with us this morning, not on financial management, would like to speak, now is the time to do so. Once we get into the business of the day, I'm gonna ask that only financial management members or our finance director or his assistant speak so that we can get on with the business at hand. We have a long agenda, a lot of outside speakers today. So to facilitate that, since our meetings are already running 3 and 4 hours long, this is your time to do public comments. If anybody wants the floor, I will recognize you. Okay, then we'll close out public comments and we will move into old business. And we have moved our county trustee up to this position. So I don't know if Mr. Lewis wants to begin or Mr. Burke, however you all have decided to handle this portion of our meeting today. Take it away.
I know that I spoke with the trustee's office last week and they said that Randall would be present to present. So I believe he should be talking.
Yeah, I see that he's present, but he's muted.
Yes, let me call down there. Give me 1 second. I apologize. So Bonnie had stepped out for a moment to talk with someone, but he is coming back right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I think I said Ronnie, but I meant Randall.
That's all right, Kennedy. You're up to 5 laps right now. Keep it going.
Can you hear me?
After this meeting, I'm
Yes,
also ready for it.
trustee, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, we had trouble with the audio. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I'm with you now, Ginger.
Okay. Well, we moved you up on our agenda so that you wouldn't have to wait around a long time unless you wanted to. So we're ready for your report if you're ready, sir.
Okay, thank you. On the CDs, we have 4 CDs out at this time. And I'll start with the highest rate and go down, okay?
Yes.
Okay. We've got one at 0.94%, and that's really good for right now, as y'all may know. And that's coming due May the 2nd of this year. And that's on 2 million. The next one is on 2 million. And it's 6 months. And it's drawing 0.5%, 0.50. And it's due April the 2nd of this year. I sort of went backwards on that, sorry. And then the other one, all of them's on 2 million that I'm telling you about here. The next one is 0.60. Like I say, it's 2 million and it's due July the 22nd. The next one is 0.85 and it's due July the 31st of this year. So that's 4 CDs, and that comes to 8,842,023. Of course, that has went up since the end of January a little, but all these CDs are coming due. And in saying that, I have checked a few weeks ago with some of our banks, and it's not looking good as far as the CDs go. And one CD that I got quoted, get my paperwork lined up here, was for 6 months, and it was 0.01. You know, that's saying we don't want it.
Oh my.
Yeah. It gets a little better. The other one is a little below a quarter, which is 0.20. And there was one that was quoted that was 0.35. Okay, that 0.35% is what we are currently making on our checking account at this time. And so it being the same, I didn't think it was worth the paperwork to put it in that particular bank, since it's already doing that in our checking account. So that is where we are at. Also, let me mention the investment pool, local government investment pool. In December, it was at 0.16%. So right now, everything is really, really low. And when we do go renew these CDs, when they come due, if they can't come up, hopefully our checking account is still doing pretty decent. And if these banks can't come up, if we can't renew our CDs a little better than the checking account, we'll probably have to pull those funds and put it in the checking account. So that's where we stand at this time. That's where we're at.
Okay, Randall, is there any chance that our checking account rate is gonna go down?
I don't know at this time, Ginger. It just fluctuates. I will say this, they have been really good to us. At one time, it was lower than that, and they didn't take it down because we got a lot of funds in there at this time, in which they ought to do that because we do have a lot in there, but it is at 0.35. And so these other CDs, like I say, we don't know what's going to happen, but the first one, like I say, comes due in April, May, and July. So we'll see. Hopefully, when we meet again, we can have a good report on our funds.
Yeah, don't they anticipate rates going up a little bit? I know in real estate, we're talking about how it's anticipated that borrowing rates are gonna go up.
Yes. We'll just have to let time take its course, and hopefully we can do a little better.
Commissioner Holden,
Yes, Commissioner James.
I was just gonna tell you, I read an article the other day that they, I think the Federal Reserve had released that they didn't anticipate rates going up on the mortgage side, which it's all a driving factor, but they didn't anticipate them going up for quite some time, because they felt that if they raised it, it would really seriously detriment the economy worse than what it already is since we're in the middle of the pandemic. So, you know, it may be another year and a half, 2 years before we see the rates actually climb.
Okay. Well, that's probably not good news for our county savings. But Randall, we thank you for your report today and for checking on all of this. And I can only speak for myself, but I certainly agree with you that if our checking account's getting the highest interest rate, just leave it there.
Yes. Well, thank you for putting me on early. This is the month of February, and as you all know, we're going to be a mini Walmart in here probably this month. So thank you for your time and getting me on early, and we'll try to work and do the best we can for our county funds. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so on the old business, it used to be number 1, so now it'll be number 2. We're going to discuss our Chapter 10 and Chapter 11 capital and non-capital asset management policies. Director Burke.
Thank you. Okay, I know we've discussed, I presented some details on these capital assets the past 2 months and on the capital assets and non-capital assets last month. And the only changes from the versions that were sent out last month is on page 12. It's in the depreciation table. And at the bottom of that table, I added school buses separately and changed or added a estimated useful life of 10 years for those assets. Does anybody have any questions about either policy and procedures?
Director Burke, I have one. It's on Chapter 10, Section 10.3. Bullet number 1 about land. It says it will be recorded at cost regardless, blah, blah, blah. Are you with me?
I am.
Okay. The word cost keeps coming up throughout the document. And usually it's preceded by an adjective like actual cost, capitalized cost, and so on, acquisition cost. Which one of those would that be? Acquisition?
Yes.
Do you think it would be prudent to add the word acquisition right there?
Certainly.
Does anybody have any other questions concerning these two chapters?
Just one quick question. So, Mr. Burke, the only real addition to this from the other iterations is just about the buses, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Burke, is that on where you added the buses? What is the rate on them as far as, now I've lost the word, where you calculate the reduction in the asset in itself?
Yeah.
What is it based on? Is it a 10? You got an appreciation. Thank you. Is that on a, what, an 8-year, 10-year?
10-year. That's very close to right at the actual life of the asset.
The actual life of that asset?
Yes. Useful life. The way I understand it.
Brad?
Go ahead.
Brad, this is Roger. I've got a couple of questions about on the equipment. I think you've got down appreciation loss in 5 years. And we have some equipment here, which is pavers and backhoes and crack holes and stuff. But we're looking maybe 15 or 20 years on those. Kind of an exception on that, I think. And like rollers too, rollers we keep on and on and on. We just rebuild them and stuff to make them work and stuff. So, and you pay $400,000 for a great all, and you want to keep that thing going 10 or 15 years. Quite a bit of maintenance, but it costs a lot of money to buy one. So we will be using those on a longer period.
If you can get me I guess just label the category as heavy equipment and come up with some depreciate or useful life for those assets categorized as heavy equipment, we can certainly add that as a separate category.
Okay, that would take care of that. Cause like I say, when I buy a piece of equipment like that, we go and putting 10, 15 years on them, and sometimes they last longer than that.
Hey, Roger, I know you're having
I
to,
have one more question.
you're having to use your phone, I believe, to talk to us this morning, and every time
Yes, and
you unmute yourself, we're
it
getting
mutes me every time I talk. Can you hear me now, Ginger?
We can hear you, Roger. We're just getting like a bird chirping sound. It's pretty shrill.
Yeah, I hear that too.
Okay. All right.
I
That's
moved
from
the
where
phone out
he's,
of the hill.
that's from where the sound's coming through his computer and the phone's picking it up. So you're getting that reverb in the loop.
Okay. Abby, how can he prevent that?
He
I'm
can
going
turn
to
the,
get, I've got the volume on the computer turned way down, but I'll move the phone over to where it can't hear it. I've got a set of headphones, but I cannot get them to work this morning. I'm going to get Anthony back up here and see what the problem is. When I'm on the regular computer looking at sites, the headphones work, but when on this meeting, the headphones don't work. But anyway, I wanted to ask one more thing, if I may. On table, I think it's page 19 on table 11.1. We have on non-capital assets 100 to right under 10,000. Could that or should it be raised to $200 instead of $100? Anybody thought about that?
Of course, it's up to the committee, but I'd recommend we keep it at 100.
Okay, I just thought we buy a few items, you know, like wrenches and stuff, and some of them's over $100, and we haven't been putting them on assets. But I guess we can.
Okay. I believe we should probably go with our director here on the $100 mark. But as inflation continues, Mr. Burke, maybe the next time we review these policies, we could consider raising it at least $50 or something as prices rise on those tools. Does anybody else have a question or comment on chapter 10 or 11?
Well, this is Roger again. You know, I think the school department, the sheriff's department, and the highway department would be a great benefit to raise that to about $200. I'm not making a motion on it, but because I don't seem to get any more input.
I'm okay with moving it up to 150 for now. Then, like Chairman Holder mentioned, we'll look at it the next time. You know, evaluate it from there.
Well, you need a motion on that, Brad?
No, I don't think so. We could make the changes in here and then vote on the changed amount.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So Director Burke, we've got changes coming from Mr. Cobal on at least 2 topics, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Will you please restate what those 2 changes are so that our committee can vote on these now?
Okay. In the capital asset policies and procedures, there will be a category added called heavy equipment. At this point, for the highway department, there will be items such as rollers, excavation equipment, things of that nature. And to the non-capital assets, the threshold for inventorying an asset will be $150 instead of the $100 that's currently in the policies.
Okay, if there's no further discussion needed, Mr. Kennedy, if you'll call the roll, we will vote on approval of these amended, updated policies on chapter 10, capital assets, and chapter 11, non-capital assets.
All right. Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Ginger Hogan,
Yes.
Austin James,
Yes.
Travis Hill,
Yes.
Roger Cobal,
Yes.
Patty Woodby,
Yes.
Tracy McAbee.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a discussion of the sales tax issue at Dollar General. So Director Burke, I'll let you take the floor first, sir.
And these, I hope you've had a few minutes to look over these items that were sent out fairly late last night. I ran out of time, and you know, I did the best I could do with it. But anyway, I hope it didn't confuse you more with kind of describing the process for the sales tax collections and the allocation of those collections when they come back to the county. As you can see, the first 50% of all collections, no matter the location, whether it's a city or in the county, in Carter County, all those are combined, and the first 50% of that is taken per statute to be used for education. And education, specifically operation and maintenance. It does not mention capital projects. And that 50% is divided up between the city and the county school system based on average daily attendance figures for the particular year. And the revised figures, the current figures don't come out usually until March or April of the year. So for a part of the year, the sales tax collections are distributed on an old ADA. But when that new ADA comes to the county, the trustee makes adjustments to back up and to ensure that those collections for the entire year are allocated on the correct ADA, the current ADA. Back in 2008, there was a referendum presented to the voters to increase the local option sales tax from 2.25% to 2.75%. That was passed. It was effective January 1st, 2009. And prior to that, the county commission passed a motion to allocate a portion of the county's 50% of their collections, 18% actually, allocate 18% of their collections to the school department for education capital projects. And it was discussed in 2 meetings that I found in the minutes anyway. And from reading those minutes, it certainly appears to me that the intention of the county commission was most likely to those funds, the entire amount of those funds, to be directed to the county school department for education capital projects. However, the funds collections beginning in 2009 were allocated on the same ADA as the first 50% of sales tax collections. Therefore, the school department did not receive the full amount of that 18%. It's more around 12, 13%. I've discussed it with the county attorney, and I asked him to certainly pipe in here at any point as far as the motion passed in 2008 goes, or any future action. Of course, there are options available for the county if the commission so desires to direct that entire 18% to the county school system, or continue with the current method of sharing that 18% with the city school systems. On the first page of this memo, down under allocation of collections from January 2009 through January 2021, I've included some figures there in regards to this 18% given by the county for education capital projects. As you can see, during that time period, the county school system received $1,694,736, and the city school systems received $811,488. So actually, the average for the school department for those collections they received was 67.62%. And also, at the same time, the school board chose to take 18% of their share of the first 50% and restrict those for education capital projects. And those funds have always been accounted for in the general purpose school fund. And as they are spent, as they come in, as they're spent each year, the reserve is set up at the end of the year and carried forward. And at this point, as of January 31st, the balance in that account, that restricted fund balance account in the general purpose school fund, is $1,029,640. And while we're still on that subject, I would recommend that no matter what action is taken going forward, if anything's changed in the current method for 18% or not, that an education capital projects fund be set up, a separate fund, and all collections and all disbursement of those restricted sales tax be accounted for in that fund. And there are a couple of additional issues too that that you're aware of, as far as a mistake made by the Department of Revenue when a Dollar General store, which is actually located in the city, was changed to being located in the county. Therefore, the county received local option sales tax from this business that was collected by this business. The county received a portion of the sales tax that it was not entitled to. And it was reported, this error was reported by the city to the Department of Revenue in February of 2020. And according to their policy, they go back 1 year they go back from February 2020 back to February 2019 and determine the collections during that period from this Dollar General. And they did come up with a figure of $133,000. And that amount was deducted from the county share of local option sales tax that was sent to the county this month or last month, January 2021. And another issue is that there were some collections from 2017. And like I said before, the Department of Revenue doesn't go back that far. So the city of Elizabethton has asked for that amount of funds to be paid by the county and a portion from the general purpose school fund. And there was also a portion from the city of Elizabethton ADA fund back to the city. And those amounts are on the new schedule that I sent out last night. Is slightly different from the version that was distributed last month. And the revised figures are as follows. The net amount that was credited to the general fund, the county general fund, was $40,094.23. And the net amount distributed to the general purpose school fund or allocated to the general purpose school fund was $5,913.51. And when you subtract the 1% trustee commission from those figures, you come up with a net amount in the general fund of $39,693.28, and a net amount in the general purpose school fund of $5,854.38, and a net amount from Elizabeth City School System of $2,858.79. Of course, the amount due from the city, amount that could be due from the city of Elizabeth and schools will need to be handled by the personnel from that department in the city. Are there any questions so far?
Now with those, Brad, those numbers, of course, last month when we were discussing it, the city manager Estes was present, and we delayed or referred it to this month's business so they'd have a chance to look over it, because I think he may have had some question in his mind. Has that been resolved that you know of?
I did. I have worked with the city finance director. His figures are a little bit different from mine, but I'm confident these figures are the accurate and true figures.
Okay.
Brad,
Yes, sir.
is the city figures, are they coming up higher than ours? Or are they coming in, what's the difference there?
Brad, I think Preston's online.
Preston, what are your figures?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry. My name is Preston Cobb. I'm finance director. The figures that, I mean, Brad, you know, I had sent that over to you at some point. I think a little after the last meeting, and I never really heard back from you. So I really don't know the different discrepancies of our figures. So I do have my numbers from the county general fund were $39,111 and some change. The city's general purpose school fund, I had about $6,000.53 or $53, about $6,053. The city of Elizabethton city schools, I had $3,122, and then Johnson City Schools, I had about $114. I never really heard, again, Mr. Estes and I, we just wanted to make sure we were, I guess, everybody was comfortable with the number, and it may have been my misinterpretation, but I assumed no news was good news. So I didn't know we disagreed again, Brad. Sorry about that.
Actually, I just got this one last night. That's why you haven't heard from me.
Okay. Well, I don't believe Mr. Estes is on, but I'm sure we would again like to see your revised numbers as well, Brad.
The difference, I believe, is you use the ADA figures from the current year, and I use the ADA figures from 2017.
So you used your ADA figures from 2017? Right. Is that what the change is? Okay.
Yeah. Plus, the city of Johnson City did not start receiving sales tax until February of 2018.
Do you mind again, Mr. Brad, if you could send that to us again, just so Daniel and I have something? Okay.
I will.
Okay, so since the city would like time to review these numbers again, then what does the committee think? I feel like we might need to put this off another month for a vote.
Chairwoman Holden, one other thing toward Mr. Burke. Should they not, both the government agencies, agree on a common number that they do their calculations from? Because here's 2 months in a row, they both have different numbers. They may be small apart, but it comes from a common factor, which is based on the Department of Revenue as to the taxes that are collected and how they come to their breakdown. Should they know both? Shouldn't they be on the same page, identical? I mean, from the source, Brad?
Yes, sir. And I apologize that this wasn't calculated until last night. It will be resolved today with Mr. Cobb from the city.
Thank you, Mr. Brad. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Aldrin.
Yes, Commissioner James.
If I may, since we're getting pretty close on numbers, I mean, we're not like we're $100,000 off. We're relatively close. Let's just let them work it out and send it on the budget, and let them have the final numbers by the time we get the budget and get this clarified, so we don't have to put this back on our agenda next month. If you're good with that.
Okay. If these two finance directors think that they can get it resolved before budget meets next week, I'm comfortable letting it come before budget next week. How does the rest of the committee feel?
Works for me.
Move it to a motion, James. That way you'll
I put in the form of a motion that we send this to budget and let them take care of this as far as after Brad and the city works out the final numbers and gets an exact total.
Okay, motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's go with Mayor Woodby on a second for that, Michael. And now we'll do a roll call vote.
All right, sorry about that, guys. I was trying to get that noted. Yeah, it's a lot to notate when you guys are talking a lot. Let's see here. Brad Johnson?
Yes.
Ginger Holdren?
Yes.
Austin James?
Yes.
Travis Hill?
Yes.
Roger Football?
Yes.
Patty Woodby?
Yes.
Tracy McAdoo?
Yes.
All eyes.
All right, thank you. So Preston, Brad, take care of that, and hopefully we'll get it pushed through budget and onto the full commission later this month. Thank
very
you
much.
for your work on that, Director Burke. Sorry that you're still having to work on weekends. At this time, if it is okay with this committee, I'd like to recognize Mr. Ray Bell, who's on with us today. We've heard from him in health and welfare, and also, I believe, at our workshop. Is that correct, Travis? I know I've heard from him twice at this point, but he's here today to present one more time something that we may want to forward on. So, Mr. Bell, if you could just briefly go over your program again for this financial management committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Holgren. Good morning, folks. My name is Ray Bell. I am with Air Medcare Network. Locally, you know us as Wings Air Rescue, UT Lifestar, Erlanger Lifeguard, Aerovac Life Team, Korean Lifeguard. We are the nation's largest emergent air provider, and fortunately, you guys have about 6 of our aircraft within 65, 70 nautical miles of you. A couple months ago, one of your employees had approached our team out at the airport and was asking some questions about some of the agreements that we have with other counties, programs and cities and other businesses in the region. And after he did that, I reached out to Mayor Woodby and sat down and had some discussions and along with some other council meetings. And let you guys know about our membership program that we have. Most people realize that, if they have a emergent flight, that it is financially significant. And a lot of times your insurance almost always never pays for an entire bill. And folks end up having to pay out-of-pocket costs, whether that be, a portion of the bill itself, as well as co-pays, deductibles, and other things like that associated with your insurance payments that you have to make. What we have is a membership program, and we've had this for over 30 years, that not only covers that individual that is flown, but also everyone in their household, should they be flown, where they're at in the country and one of our aircraft flies them. There's absolutely zero out-of-pocket cost associated with that flight should them or their household members be flown. When I met with the mayor, we gathered some information from Sequoia Group with Kelly. We had actually worked with her before down in the UT footprint. Got some information on your insurance, got the number of employees that the county government had, and we came up with an agreement proposal to cover not only your employees, but as well as their household members that live under their roof as well. This agreement for $60 household, it would cover all of those. So you're looking at a little under $17,000 to cover all the employees in the county, and that's not including the school system, Dr. McAbee.
And can you give us a figure? I know it'll be maybe an estimate, but that's okay. What would one family be charged if they had to pay for this out of pocket?
It's a significant cost, Commissioner Holdren. It varies. It depends on the aircraft, the type of aircraft, the distance traveled, and the care that's given to the patient on that aircraft. For example, if they have blood transfusions, things like that. If it's fixed wing, we bring fixed wing aircraft in a lot, land, right there in your town and transport folks, to Atlanta, Houston, all over the country in Lear jets. Those can be quite substantial. Your average, an average flight, you can Google it. You're looking at a new truck, the cost of it. And like I said, insurance almost always never covers the full amount of the flight. And even if they do, if you're lucky enough and they do, the out-of-pocket costs associated with your insurance, the copay, the co-insurance, the maximum allowable out-of-pocket, that's also covered with this membership. And so you don't have to worry about that. When we say when you're flown with our aircraft and you're a member and you have zero out-of-pocket costs associated with that flight, you have zero out-of-pocket costs. I think Dr. McAbee, I think he's familiar with the program from where he was at before. I think you're a member. We fly a lot. When, your healthcare system, when they realigned and merged, they also realigned a lot of services, which increased our flight volume in the region. And then coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, we're beginning to fly even more flights farther away, farther out of this region, just to find a hospital bed. That's one of the unintended consequences when beds do start filling up. We have to fly farther and farther away, to get folks to the needed care they require. So now it's not unusual for us to fly more flights to Knoxville or Vanderbilt or even farther out in the Korean health system. Is just wherever somebody can be flown. I experienced it with my father back in December. He lives up in West Virginia, our aerovac team. We had to fly him 2.5 hours away from his house to find a hospital bed. It's just a little bit tougher, but this is a solution where your teams, they do not have to worry about it. This gentleman, I believe the mayor knew who he was, but I think he knew somebody who had been flown, and he knew what we did with some of the other counties and stuff, and he was wanting to reach out to us and find out more about it. If your employees just wanted to purchase it, it'd be $85 a year out on their own. But when we met with the mayor, we evaluated your insurance. We took the number of employees and we reduced that down to $60 a year for a household membership.
Okay, so just to be sure I understand, that $60 is if we as a county decide to move forward with this and insure all 200 and some of our employees? Or is it $60 even if we allow them to purchase it individually?
It's either way. If the county wants to cover each individual and all their household members, it'd be a little under $17,000. If you just wanted to make it a voluntary benefit for them, we would come in for a few days, enroll them, make it as easy as possible on you guys, and we would deduct that out of a couple of their paychecks. So it's a little bit of legwork on your guys' part, a little bit of legwork on our part, but you're not going to have everyone enroll. Probably about 30 to 40% of the folks enroll because they just simply don't understand the insurance aspect and what they'd be liable to, if they were flown.
Okay.
Right. Do you know how many of our first responders in Carter County are enrolled in your program? As far as Sheriff's Department, EMS?
I do not, Mayor. Chances are you've probably got, probably 30 or 40% of them.
Okay.
Because they see it more often. They know what happens. They see the decals on people's cars, that are members. They want to get us there. The good thing in this area is we're the only aircraft. So they don't have to worry about getting us there versus a competitor that may not have a membership program that would stick those folks with a large bill. Our nearest competition is Nashville, and we surround Nashville with airbac. So that's a good thing in Tennessee. Last week, Wise County, they purchased it for all their employees. Tony Seal up at Hancock County Schools back in December, he purchased it for all the school employees. Thinking back here, I believe it was Lee County did it a few months ago as well. So, people are starting to realize, and they're hit a little bit harder on the outskirts, farther away they are from the trauma centers. So they're getting a lot more flights and stuff. You guys get, about a flight a week out of Carter County. And it varies. Some of them's trauma on the side of the road, accident scenes, cow pastures. And then the other half is people who's made it to the hospital and then they're transported to another facility from the hospital. So it's kind of a steady mix on your residents.
Dr. McAbee, is this something that do you think you would be interested in for the school system?
I'd absolutely be interested if it's such that the teachers just buy into it themselves. Obviously, I've not had a meeting with the board to see if it would be something they wanted to provide. And right now with all this going on, my hunch is I don't know how fast of a conversation that would be. But if it's something he could set up that our people could choose to buy into, that's what I'm used to. It's offered, you can buy into it. And so with as many employees as we have, that may make for a better price, but I'm definitely open to that for sure.
Okay. I'll just have to get with you, Doc, and get you guys insurance information and total number of employees, and we can see if we can work with your insurance. That's the first thing. I'm guessing you're with Blue Cross Blue Shield Tennessee.
Yeah, and so that's not my area of expertise at all.
I got you.
I'd absolutely have nothing to say about our insurance. So if you come over, just ask to meet with Ms. McLean.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not Miss McLean, Miss Crane. Miss Crane, she's over. Teresa Crane is over insurance.
Okay, sir.
I see Danny on here, and I'm thinking, well.
Yeah, I'm about to have to leave. I have there's a committee that looks over every second grade through fourth grade TCAP question, and I'm the representative from this area. And I've got to get off at 10:30. So Mr. McLean will be staying on as my designee for the rest of the meeting. So my apologies that I have to go deal with the State Department there.
All right, sir.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Bell?
It's Roger. Does this include the elected officials?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Elected officials. If you guys want to put it down to your part-time employees as well, you can. That's completely up to you. I know Wise County, they did it with every employee, part-time, full-time, volunteers, their board members, elected officials. Wise County did not. I kind of thought, that's just an option we give them. They didn't do their part-time employees. I think they had about 30 folks. And they didn't receive any type of benefits, and they didn't see the need to do that. I told them, I was like, it's just kind of the luck of the draw. If you do or you don't, purchase it for your part-time employees. I did have one instance where one of them was flown from a county out in Missouri who didn't have the coverage, and then he went on a spree where he badmouthed the county government because they didn't get the part-time employees one. But he failed to tell the news stations and stuff like that he could have purchased it for $85 a year anytime he wanted it. But it kind of give the county a little bit of a black eye. But it's just needed to be explained to the people who was interviewing him, and it never was.
Madam Chairwoman, Brad Johnson.
Yes, sir.
This is I think, the second or the third presentation that I've heard on this matter, and the prices and everything. And this is more or less a life safety benefit for our employees. And we're coming up during the year now. We're facing with the Sequoia Group in negotiations with the Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And we really don't know yet what our health benefit plans for our employees are going to come in out. But I know that we send this to the health and welfare, which is the one that would receive the numbers and all the information related to our health benefit plans for our employees, to where if it happens to be that we had a break even or we may go below what the contract prices are. We don't know yet. But if it is, if they can give this consideration to make a recommendation to the full commission, whether it be we pay a full or we pay a half, or we'll just leave it up to employees, but use their guidance.
Okay, I want to make sure I understand your motion. Your motion is to wait until we have some numbers coming back from our insurance broker and then send it to Health and Welfare for suggestion as to if or how much of this we pay for our employees?
Yes, ma'am. I just put it the other way. Just send it to Health and Welfare, period. And that way we won't run the representative to death there, to where they can analyze it and see if we are financially capable in the county, or if we're going to leave it up to the employee for the choice. But he will have a central place of point of contact, and then the Health and Welfare can make its recommendations to the full commission.
Okay, so you've now heard the motion stated like 2 or 3 different ways. Does anybody want to second the motion?
This is Roger. I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Superintendent Cobal. Any other discussion?
Chairman Holdren, just to lighten the committee, Health and Welfare did send this to financial management. It's already been there. Just wanted to make sure committee knew that.
Well, am I right in thinking, Mayor, you all been into it just like I have, but the Health and Welfare done all the research, and we assisted, the financial management did with them on the insurance we presently have and the benefit package and so forth. But it being an insurance item, do you all not feel that it should go to them for recommendation? I don't want to send it back and forth committee if nobody's going to take it. Well, we can run with it, but I figured they would be.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to let everybody know that it had been there. I don't want to run Ray back and forth.
No, I don't
between
need
all
to.
these committees.
I think we should just offer it as a supplemental insurance. And then at the end, if we have the money, then we could always pick up the tab on it.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that would sound, that might be an option. And then when we see where we're at with the insurance broker, with our insurance coming back in, it may be something we can pick up the tab on.
So you're saying stay with the financial management side of the house rather than sending it forward?
I think, Brad, what Travis was saying is we go ahead and send it forward to the full commission with approval to allow the employees to purchase it. And then when we get it back from our insurance carrier, if it's going to offset some there, then we can decide to offset the cost for the employees if they wish. Is that right, Travis?
Yeah, I think we just let the employees, the ones who want it, get it. And like I said, if at the end, if we have the extra money and we want to pick it up, we can do that.
Okay, Madam Chair, I will cease my recommendations and my motion to remove it.
Okay, so we now are open for a different motion if anybody wants to make a different motion.
Commissioner Holder, or Chairwoman Holder, I'd like to make a motion that we approve to allow the employees to purchase this at a cost for them. And we offer it to full-time and part-time employees also.
Okay, motion on the floor to offer it as an option to all employees, officials, full-time, part-time, everybody. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any more discussion?
Yes, that was.
Yes, Mayor.
Do you want to add in there anything about supplementing it on the county side if the insurance comes back in good, I guess in the good, us picking up the end of it for the employees if we're able to?
No, I think let's just leave it where it's at, and then that way, if it comes back, then we'll try to supplement it maybe through the budgetary process side of it. That way, we don't get nobody's hopes up thinking we're going to pay for it when we don't know if we can.
Okay.
This is Roger. The the premiums was $60 a year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
You know, what I'll do, Mayor, is I will reach out to Mrs. Crane and get their insurance information on the school side and see if we can get theirs approved. And if I can, I will tie the two together to try to get a little bit cheaper rate.
Okay.
See if we can do that, because I know the school employees have got, the lion's share of, employees in the county. We may be able to get $5 or $10 knocked off of that 60 if I can get them combined.
Wow, that sounds great. Yes.
Ray, do you have a pamphlet or a flyer that contains some explanation to be handed out to the employees? They can be reading about it or briefing themselves about it and their benefits, or maybe even something on there where they can contact you or your firm to where
Yes,
they can go
sir.
ahead and enroll.
Well, we'll need to wait until this is approved for this price.
Okay.
We'll do this agreement, and when we do that, we will set everything up. We'll, set up emails with Abby. If you guys want to offer to your retirees, we can do that as well. We can have, the information printed up for them to be mailed out to them. We'll do flyers. We're getting ready to do the Kingsport schools over the next couple of weeks. We're starting them tomorrow. And so we'll be on the ground, answering questions, doing whatever they need. And we can even set up an online enrollment with your folks. You'll have a few folks that never check their email, but we can, just do all we can to cover it and get everyone enrolled.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Hey, thanks, Mayor.
All right, if there's no other questions or discussion, Mr. Kennedy, we will vote on the motion on the floor.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Austin James,
Yes.
Travis Hill,
Yes.
Roger Cobalt,
Yes.
Patty Woodby,
Yes.
and Tracy.
Yes.
All right, so motion approves unanimously. Mr. Bell, I thank you for your patience and your presentation again today. I especially thank you for your willingness to possibly marry the two, school and county together and save us even more money. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Okay, we still have one more item of old business, but since we've been meeting for over an hour already, I'm going to suggest that we go ahead and take a 10-minute break at this time and reconvene at 9:50. Any objections to that?
You're the leader.
All right, 9:50 it is.
Couldn't mute the lane.
If everybody could start coming back in now, I'd appreciate it. Okay, welcome back. We will get underway again. On our agenda, we're under old business, the last item, which is a discussion regarding the possible transition of our animal shelter to a 501c3. Since our January meeting, one of our committee members researched 2 other counties. Another commissioner researched Hamblin County, and also our executive secretary, Abby Fry, researched Hancock and Hamblin. Hancock does not have a shelter, and because I didn't have information on them myself, I have removed them from our list. But we still have data from our county and 14 others. We have 15 counties total. We have surrounded Carter County to the east, west, north, and south, going all the way from Virginia, North Carolina to Knox County, Tennessee. Since our January meeting, I visited our Elizabethton Carter County Animal Shelter on January 15th at 9:30. I toured the facility again briefly and spoke with Director Posada for about 2 hours. In an effort to clarify my understanding of some of the data reported by you guys last month, I have made several follow-up phone calls I talked personally with the new director in Cobb County, Greene County, Jefferson County, Sullivan County, Washington County, Tennessee, and Washington County, Virginia, and Watauga County, North Carolina. So some of those had already been spoken with by either myself or one of you, but I had questions, so I called back. I also called Rick Hall with CTAS to inquire if they would assist Carter County in any way in this research. He said they would, but it would take lots of time, and he could not narrow down how much time. He was unaware that Sullivan County had opted to become a 501c3 in 2019 after his report. So I think his report had not recommended that at the conclusion of 2016 or 2017, but a couple of years later, Sullivan County made the decision to do it anyway. I have spoken with directors as much as possible, but also assistant directors, animal control officers, and animal shelter board members. I have given this so much time that my work life is suffering. After compiling the data on the spreadsheet begun last month, I transferred it to a document sorted by county and also to a table and bar graph format. In compiling demographic data, I utilized 2 websites so that we can compare apples to apples. That's where we'll start as I begin the presentation, is looking at that demographic data. I easily have about 80 hours of work in what is being presented today. I have made it as readable, organized, and understandable as I am able. I would like to begin sharing that research with you in detail now. So Abby, I'm requesting screen sharing, please. It has not been sent to the full commission because it is primarily the work of one person and needs committee verification and approval before it goes outside this committee. At the end of the presentation, it is my request that Financial Management Committee members state specifically what they believe are next steps and what they are willing to do as we conclude our study. Due to the budget process getting underway soon, Financial Management Committee should not linger. Going forward, your chairman will work as hard on this issue as you individual committee members are willing to work alongside me. So, Abby, am I able to share?
You should be good to go.
Okay. All right, so this has been sent to Financial Management Committee members so that if you can't see what's on the screen for some reason, you hopefully can pull it up on your own computer.
I don't think anything's coming through to anyone over here, right?
I don't see anything.
Okay, what am I doing wrong, Abby?
Let me check the settings real quick and make sure. Hang on.
Oh, it's probably me. It's now, do you see it?
Yes.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, sorry, it was my fault. Thank you. Okay, so to the left, you will see the 15 counties that we've studied. Throughout the entire document, Carter County will be highlighted in bright yellow. I looked at 4 items for comparison: the square miles inside the county, the population of 2019, which was the most recent I could find, the median income, and the percent in poverty. I then went column by column. So if we just look at square miles, Carter County has 341 square miles. I looked above and below the number 341 to grab the 5 that were the closest in geographical size. And I highlighted those in a particular color. So the smallest one that was close to our number was Jefferson County, and the largest one close to us is Sullivan County. Okay, and move over to the population column. Carter County's population in 2019 was 56,391. Again, I have gone above and below 56,391 to grab the 5 that are closest in value. They're highlighted in pink. I did the same thing with median income. Ours is at 36,589. And poverty level is 23.5%. Okay, next, I moved across rows. So Cott County, when I move across this row, we match them in 2 ways, in median income and percent poverty. So I put 2 asterisks to the right. If we only matched a county in 1 way, I did not note it in the right-hand column. So Greene County is not reflected. But we did match Hamblin in 2 ways. We did match Hawkins in 2 ways, and so on. The ones that we matched the most often with were Johnson and Watauga County, North Carolina. Okay, out of this group that is starred, I noted that Jefferson County and Hamblin County were farther away from us than the other 5 counties. So from that point forward, I used Koch, Hawkins, Johnson, Unicoi, and Watauga County, North Carolina as the 5 most similar counties to Carter in these 4 demographic ways. The data comes from a Tennessee website, if it was a Tennessee county, and then I went out to the census.gov website to grab North Carolina and Virginia information. And I did this yesterday. So if those numbers change, just note that the date that I did it was January 31st, 2021. With the help of the committee, interviewing 2 counties each last month, and then my clarifications this month, the addition of 2 counties by a committee member, and the addition of another county by a commissioner and Abby. This information has been compiled. It is believed to be accurate, but verification is encouraged. Its intent is to present facts only. Okay, next I took the 4 demographic areas and showed where Carter stands when you just look at those 6 counties total. So the 5 comparison counties and us make a total of 6 counties. And so you'll notice that most of the time Carter is right in the middle. The only thing we're a little high on is population. But if you look at the other populations, we're still one of the smaller counties. So even though our number 56 is a lot bigger than 17,000, we're still one of the smaller counties in this comparison group of 15. Does anybody have a question on this sheet? Okay, we'll go on to a spreadsheet that you saw last month that has been updated to include Hamblin County, Carter County and fill in some information from Sullivan and Washington that we did not have last month. This would not fit on one sheet of paper. I figure as time goes, we'll want to print it. So I broke it into 2 sheets. So I'm kind of just giving you time to look over that again. Notes at the bottom were just things that I thought were important to the committee that we were able to learn as we made these phone calls. And then we'll slide over and look at these other 7 counties.
Madam Chairwoman, on your spreadsheet back up where it has the budgeted amount, as I have worked once before, is the amount that we have budgeted, is that just for the county's portion of the agreement, or is that a combined of the city and county both?
I will have to defer that question to Director Burke. I pulled our budget number from the document handed to the full commission last spring as we were finalizing our budget. That number comes off of page 65 in that document. Director Burke, can you speak to Commissioner Johnson's question?
Yes, ma'am. That is the total budget with city and county combined.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? I don't want to go too fast, but I also don't want to take up too much of your time either. I included this because I do think it's, you know, it shows some side-by-side data that make it easy to see, like everybody on this sheet right here is a 501c3 except Johnson County. So it's easy to look across and see that. But this was not my favorite way to look at the data. So I took this same data and I presented it in a table form. So the percent of financial support that is coming from the county is listed for the 15 counties as much as I was able to obtain it. Washington County, Virginia, I didn't get an answer from. I made multiple phone calls. I think in total I've made 5 phone calls there. But I was never able to obtain that piece of information from them. Okay, again, Carter County will always be in yellow. The 5 counties with whom we most closely identify based on, you know, the 4 demographic pieces of data that I used will always be highlighted in like this grayish green color. So you'll notice that the percent of financial support coming from Carter County is approximately 70. It seems to vary every year. I have not been able to obtain a formula for how that is computed. We are the second highest percentage-wise of all of the counties, and we are the highest of the 6 counties when we compare ourselves to 5 others. Sullivan County is a 501c3, but because they're in their, I guess they're in their second full year as such, the county is still supporting them 100% as they make that transition. In Johnson County, it is 100% funded by the government, but it is not Johnson County. Mountain City pays all of that budget. And sometimes they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So in picture form, here's that same data. Any questions on the proportion of funding coming from the county? Okay, let's move on to budget dollars. And I'll start with the table. The annual budget is listed for each of the counties for which I was able to obtain an answer. Again, no answer from Washington County, Virginia. You see that Knox is a miracle place, $5.6 million in their animal shelter budget annually. Buncombe County, which includes Asheville, $3.1 million. We are approximately in the middle. And then if you'll direct your attention to the ones that are shaded, that grayish green color, we're the second highest of similar counties. As a math teacher, I know that you're never supposed to truncate a graph like I did, but I was trying to fit things on a single sheet of paper. And if I let the maximum be the $5.6 million that Knox County has, it made all of these bars look like lines at the bottom of the screen. So I truncated at 1.5 million. So just remember that these two bars are actually taller than this. But that was just so that I could show the difference between the counties that were more our size. Okay, any questions or comments here?
Madam Chair, on that graph there on the annual operating budget, in the green that it shows, what of those green are they, with the exception of us, are they 501(c)(3)?
Johnson County is not, sir.
Yeah, I know that.
They're funded by Mountain City. All of the others are.
Okay.
Okay. All of the others are 501(c)(3)s. Anybody else have a question? Okay, number of paid employees. Please keep in mind here, and I should make a note of this, and I will before this document goes any further, but this is full-time and part-time added together. Full-time and part-time added together. So Johnson County, I'd love to meet this woman. She is a one-woman show. She does the animal control for city and county, and she runs the animal shelter all by herself. Amazing. One employee. Washington County, Virginia, same. An amazing lady is doing that. You notice that we're about in the middle. We do not have data from Unicoi or Hawkins, which is very unfortunate because they are two of the counties that we're trying to kind of zero in on as apples to apples. And I have no data from them at this time. I did the same thing on this bar graph that I did on the last one. I truncated these 3 counties with the largest number of employees so that we could see distinction between these other counties. We have one more page. Is there any question before we move to that last page? Okay, this is the number of animals homed by the shelter on an annual basis. So Knox County is able to find homes for 10,000 animals in a year's time. Washington County, Virginia, that's one of the ones where it's only run by one person. And that one person has homed 231 dogs and cats in 2020. Okay, again, very unfortunate that we don't have this data right here for Unicoi, Hawkins, Johnson, and Green. We match closely with Johnson, Hawkins, and Unicoi, not Green. But for them, they were not able to provide me with that number. Okay, let's look at another document. This has been sent out to FMC members for your all's review and approval. This is the same data, but it's instead of being on a spreadsheet, a table, or a bar graph, it's just sort of like in bullet form, the highlights from each county. And so this gives a little bit more information than the bar graphs because I'm able to use words and not just numbers. So maybe let's talk about some of the cool things on each one of these. In Avery County, I learned that they raise money through a boutique pet supply store and a thrift store, a resale store. These are run by volunteers, not employees.
Chairwoman Holden,
Yes.
can you share that to the screen?
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I didn't realize it wasn't. Okay. I don't know how to do it. New share. Okay, let's try this. Okay, this is not the document I was talking about. I'll have to try to figure out how to get it up there in just a minute. Animal control is something that I think we are going to have to look at sooner rather than later. And so while I was at it, I did try to talk to the animal control officers, and I asked them, you know, how did they get to be an animal control officer? What training do they have? They were trained through a combination of 2 groups for the most part, NACA and I've forgotten the name of the other one. I want to think it was 3D or something like that. But those 2 groups have separated. So the classes that they offered in 2020 will be the last ones offered by the two groups together. But NACA is still offering training. They have 3 different levels. And so of course you have to start with the first certification. That's at a cost of about $400. And then the second course, $447. And then if you're able to pay for both at the same time, the total, there's not a discount. The total comes to $844. This is just a screenshot of their website showing some of the things that they train on, the topics that they train on. So investigations, what to do about aggressive animals, professionalism, first aid. You're even able to get training in euthanasia so that you don't have to rely on a veterinarian for that. I also pulled this up. I don't remember the website that this came from. Sorry, I know that should have been included, but this is the average salary for an animal control officer in the state of Tennessee. And of course, there are other places inside Tennessee where they're making above $20 an hour, like in the Nashville area, for example. But for our area, that would be about average. Any questions on that? All right, I apologize, Commissioner Hill and others. This is a document that I had begun talking about a minute ago, but wasn't showing it to you at the time. So I had only spoken about Avery County. And was moving down to Buncombe, which is Asheville again. So the Sheriff's Department provides animal control for the county, and the city of Asheville has their own animal control over there. Just an update. You all that were at the workshop know that due to a comment made by our new Commissioner Julie Gwynn, I had asked Chairman Hill of Law Enforcement to consider talking to the sheriff about this issue. He has reached out, and the sheriff is going to be at law enforcement meeting this week to discuss this, because you will notice as we scroll through these counties that there are some counties who do rely on their sheriff's department for animal control. Something that is a little shocking, I guess, to me is like Cocke County only has 2 full-time employees. Greene County only has 4. And notice the sharing that's taking place there in Greene County. The animal control officer works normal business hours, and then after hours calls are handled by law enforcement. And if law enforcement, which could mean the city or the county, requires the help of an ACO, then they're called in. A message that I heard over and over and over was utilize other rescues. Don't try to do the job all by yourself at the shelter. I know several of them have mentioned Chicago and other places up north. They told me that the Northerners will take our animals as fast as we can transport them there. They use volunteers to handle that transportation. Shelter employees do not do that. I can tell you from my daughter's experience in Philadelphia, their first pet came from a rescue, and that animal had come from the South. That animal has now passed away, and Kaylee is looking for another dog. She has requested one from different agencies several times over the past few weeks, and she has no dog yet. That is how desperate for pets they are. She cannot get a dog in Philadelphia. Okay, and whenever it was a part of discussion, I've included things like this. It's not always included just because it didn't come up in the conversation, but Hamlin County, for example, just uses state laws for their animal control. Hawkins County does not, but the municipalities like Churchill, Rogersville, and so on do have animal control within the municipality. Look at Jeff County. They use 40 to 50 rescue partners to try to keep the animals out of the shelter environment. So this director, talked about how if you can keep an animal out of a shelter environment, no matter how clean and nice and wonderful it is, it's best to keep them out of that environment. And so, I've learned so much doing this, everybody. I've enjoyed the research and I have learned tremendously. One of the things that I didn't realize was if you are like the county run shelter, you cannot refuse an animal. You have to take all. So then different counties do it different ways. Some counties will send the animals that are hard to get adopted out to the rescues. Other counties do the exact opposite. They send the animals that are most easily adopted out to the rescues. But as much as possible, they are not keeping the animals in-house. So that cuts down on the cost. It cuts down on the need for employees, and it cuts down on the cost of food and electricity and everything by sending them out to rescues. I thought these things were cool right here, but I did mention them last month, so I'll just move on through that. Sullivan County was not part of our discussion last month, but since Commissioner Johnson and I have both spoken with them this month, let's look at Sullivan County. They are, I guess, the newest 501c3. They are trying to fundraise and put back everything that's coming in right now to build up a reserve so that as time goes on, they can require less and less funding from their county. Their budget is more than ours, but similar, only about 67,000 more than last year's budget. They only have 4 full-time employees. That is the director, the assistant director, and 2 animal control officers. And I did talk to the somebody that's on the board, and she said that you have to run it as a business, not just as a heart. So of course, the whole reason you do it is because you have a heart for animals, you love them, you want the best care for them. But you know, they do have set amount of times that dogs and cats stay in their facility. They are working with students from UT Veterinary School, which brings the medicine cost down to 5% of what normal medicine cost would be. Their suggestion was that the board be made up of no elected officials. It should be made up of veterinarians, business leaders, philanthropists that are hardworking and contributing to the animal shelter themselves. They hired Marcy Walker, an attorney, to set up their 501c3 because of her experience. Their county attorney did not feel qualified to do it, so they hired her. One thing that had been brought up to me this past week was, you know, what will happen to our county employees that, you know, are getting county health benefits at this time and county retirement in the future. So I specifically asked that board member this question. She was like, oh gosh, no, they're still county employees. Just because the shelter's a 501c3 doesn't mean that they're not county employees anymore. They're still getting benefits. They're still getting retirement. So that was a relief to hear that, because I don't know things like that. So I'm having to ask these questions. She did say that their current director reports often, that she's in very frequent contact with the commission and the board. And also, this is not the only time I heard this. Another county told me this also. They have a PayPal button on their Facebook page, and people can donate right there. It makes it super easy. And in Sullivan County, they were able to raise $20,000 for a recent hoarding case. So I'm assuming that's probably one of those houses where there was so many animals that you know, they weren't cared for, and feces everywhere and that kind of situation. And so they put that out there on Facebook. They got $20,000 in just a couple of days. She said that people give more freely to a 501c3 than they do to a government agency. And she and other people, okay, this message was heard over and over by me. If you state a specific cause for which you're raising money, people give. If you just say, please help our animal shelter, they don't. But I can't remember what county it was. I want to say Washington County, Virginia, maybe. But they put out on Facebook that they needed money to repair the floor in the kennels. It was concrete, and the concrete was chipping, cracking, breaking, coming apart. So they put it out there. We need money specifically to repair the floor in the kennels. And they raised $150,000 in 2 months and were able to get that done. So they've all told me that a positive attitude is key, a strong work ethic, and being very specific as to what the money is going to be used for, and the PayPal link on the webpage as important tools that can be utilized. Washington County does it differently. You see there, they've got 2 council members, 2 commissioners, and 1 member at large. That's very similar to our current board. So I have heard, you know, different recommendations where that's concerned. Something that Watauga County, North Carolina does that has cut down on their intake from the public just because they don't want their pet anymore or whatever. They require people to make an appointment and sit down with them before they let them surrender a pet. So if they find out that they're wanting to surrender the pet because they can't afford food anymore, then they get them the food and the people are able to keep their pet. So they said through those kind of appointments, training, and assistance, that their intake from the public is way down. They have a dog park attached to their shelter facility. And it's kind of like when I was a kid and we had to buy a pass to the swimming pool. You buy a pass for the right to use the dog park. And so that's one of the ways that they make money. So I've found some just really cool things by talking to these people, and they are all so helpful. They have all offered to speak to us if we want them to come to a meeting. They've offered to let us tour their facilities. Sullivan County wants us to start having regional meetings where we share ideas with all animal shelters in our area. Just a wonderful group of people. Most animal lovers are, I do believe. They have big hearts. I've got one more document, but I don't even, let's see what it is. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm sorry. I guess that's it for now on that topic. I have asked Attorney Harden to be present today to answer some questions. Since Financial Management Committee is responsible for sound funding practices, it is appropriate to require monthly reporting of the number of animals in the shelter as it relates to city and county intake. It is appropriate to require a detailed document for the budgetary requests coming from the animal shelter. Arbitrary amounts to the city and county without explanation are not sufficient nor appropriate. So the city and county agreement needs an amendment addressing the split cost, the provision of animal control officers. If not an amendment, then a new document. Government is a place for specificity, not generalities or vague terms. So I ask Attorney Harden to be here today and to address some of the concerns that we have. So if I see him now. If Attorney Harden, if you want to start talking, that'll be great. If you want me to ask specific questions, I will.
Well, yeah, I don't have a presentation prepared, but I'll certainly answer any questions you have. I've got the questions you sent me on email, and if you want me just to go down the list on those, I will.
That'll be great, sir. Thank you.
All right. So I was asked, what is the legal requirement to have or fund an animal shelter in Carter County? And my answer is there is no legal requirement to have or fund an animal shelter in Carter County. It's permissive under state law. If the county wants to regulate animals, the county wants to operate an animal shelter, it can. There is no requirement to have one. So since there's no requirement to have one, there's no requirement to fund one. The only requirement that we do have is by our own agreement with the city of Elizabethton jointly to continue to operate and fund the current animal shelter. That was a voluntary obligation that the county entered into. While I'm on that topic, I will agree that the operating agreement is vague. And as some of you all may know, I prepare documents I'm asked to prepare. In my opinion, doesn't necessarily win the day. And at the time when this was done, that was the concern I had. I mean, is this worth the paper it's written on? It doesn't really require any level of funding or a specific level of funding from either body. It's very vague. What is proper operation? What level of funding is needed for proper operation? Those are arguable, vague terms, and that's the way both bodies wanted it at the time this was done and approved. Just because I drafted the document, I specifically remember having percentages in there that were asked to be removed that did not make the final draft. So that's the short answer to that question. If there's a question more specifically on that topic before I move on, let me know. right, the next question I had was, if the county commission decides to fund the shelter at a certain dollar amount, it's not sufficient, they want to be a 501c3 to supplement that amount. How does the shelter do this? Just so everybody understands, and most of you probably do, and I don't want to talk down to anybody, but a 501c3 is just a reference to the federal tax code. And all 501c3 is a specific section that basically means that you are exempt from federal income tax. So a 501c3 is not a thing. It is a portion of the tax code that refers to a corporation that's properly set up as a nonprofit corporation. Certainly, we can establish a 501c3 corporation, a nonprofit corporation, and I'm no expert in that field, but I have done it for the Joint Economic Community Development Board, for a lot of churches in the area, and some other things just in my private practice. It is not difficult to actually do. It can be done in a few hours pretty easily if the information is available. The information is kind of basic stuff. Who's the incorporators, who's the folks on the board, where's the principal office, what's the name of it, how's the fiscal year run, where's the annual meeting and when. You pretty need basic information. You don't file your bylaws and things with the state. You essentially get the shell of it, you file it, it's approved through the Secretary of State and established, and pretty much it can all be done online on the computer. Obviously the nuts and bolts of the thing is how it operates, and that's something that's set up by the board. I mean, you have bylaws initially that the board approves, and then you have more specific operational things that's decided by the board. That's how a corporation works. It is a separate corporate entity. It isn't Carter County. It isn't the city of Elizabeth. And it is a separate corporate entity, just like Walmart or any other corporation. It's not controlled by city, county government. Now, as in the case of Washington County, Tennessee, like was referred to, certainly you can have those folks on the board, similar kind of to what our board is now. Just as a personal opinion, I don't know how that changes things much. If you're going to have the same board that we have now and just call it a nonprofit corporation, but that's another argument. Obviously, folks on the board would need to be those interested in doing it. And like Ms. Holdren pointed out, those philanthropists in the community, people who are interested in dogs, and not necessarily those that just happen to be county commissioners or city council members, should be the people on the board. I am a little confused myself on how someone who's employed by a separate corporation in the animal shelter can still be considered a city or county employee. That's confusing to me. Maybe somebody smarter than me can help you all figure that out. But I mean, that'd be like, saying that we're going to send folks down to work at Walmart and they're county employees. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, maybe somebody else can help you all figure that one out. But it seems a little fuzzy to me. Obviously, if it's a separate corporate entity, it exists and runs itself. The county can fund it, the city can fund it, whatever level they want to fund it. But you wouldn't necessarily have any operational control other than maybe being a member of the board. So I think that covers that topic, unless there's more specific questions on that one.
Josh, Brad Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't you think that to try to extinguish the difference between the 501(c) and the shelter, and you have your county employees, but I think the 501(c) is more or less, like you said, for a tax code, but that's where your volunteers work through. And your county employees would work at the shelter and still be employees of the county and full benefits and rights. But anything that goes through there is handled by the volunteers, the transportation, the care for, it assists the employees.
Yeah, like I said, maybe there's a way to structure that and I'm just missing. But I mean, county government is a nonprofit corporation too. I mean, nobody in the county is making a profit. Everybody's paid a salary, just like any other nonprofit corporation. I mean, whatever it is, all these charities, I mean, they might have directors that make $1 million a year. They're making a salary. The company's not turning a profit. That is what a government is already. We don't pay federal income tax. We are a government entity. The only thing really that the 501c3 nonprofit organization can do is directly solicit and fundraise, in my opinion. The county government's not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to put donate now buttons on the website and go out and have car washes and pancake breakfasts. We're not supposed to do that as a county government, but a separate nonprofit corporation can. And so, that in my mind is the biggest difference, other than, simply being hands off operationally. We're not required to fund at any certain level. Those are the major differences. But if there's a way to structure it where we employ folks who actually work there, by all means, that's great. Like I said, I'm no corporate attorney. I'm just, I'm in Carter County, Tennessee, running a small practice. So I'm sure there's lots of folks out there that may have a lot more knowledge on that.
But the overall, in a total operation, of course, everybody knows that the rules and bylaws are the policy and procedures that are established by a board is actually what determines the cost factor and how its operation goes. So that's the most critical document that needs to be done as far as operations are concerned and cost. And if those policy and procedures are not proper, or they're skewed, or not in full, then that means you have a cost problem.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with you. And like I said, from a basic standpoint, none of that stuff is included when you incorporate a business. Those are board decisions, and that all those documents and policies and procedures and things are generated through that board. So it would, you can kind of have a role in that if you want to be in the drafting of those documents beforehand. But if it's not a county government, ran shelter, all that stuff can be changed by the board at any time after it's established. The next question I had was, what's the legal obligation to remain in the city-county agreement? I kind of touched on that already. It is vague. We do have a valid agreement. The term of it is indefinite. It does require some funding, but there's a lot of vague gray language in there. Nothing is definite, no specific amounts. So it's a matter of either deciding to completely do away with it or make changes to it. Sorry. It says my internet's unstable, so I might sound like Max Headroom or something. Anyway, we can change it through agreements with the city. We can decide to dissolve it with the city. If there are unilateral decisions to be made, I think we'll have to talk about those in a different form. As far as the questions I have, the other one's about 501c3 employees, and I think we covered that. And then the last supplemental question I got was about training. To my knowledge, there is no training required for animal control officers or people who work in the shelter. Obviously, that's, even though it's not required, it would be ideal to have it. If we put folks out there employed by Carter County who are taking actions against the public and making decisions that could impact us from a liability standpoint, the more training, the better, required or not. But there is no state law requirement for training. because there is no state law requirement to even have the position. So that's the bottom line on that. And saying I'm happy to help any way I can, and defer to more knowledgeable people if we need to help y'all accomplish whatever goal you have in this.
Thank you, Attorney Harden. Does anybody else have a question for him? Okay. Then we've got other things to do today. So I'm just going to remind the committee that I did not send this out to full commission because I wanted to let you all review it and possibly verify it before it gets sent out. So if you want time to fact check anything I've presented today, I'd like for you to state that. If you already heard or saw something different than what you learned when you made a phone call to a county, speak now, please. The last thing I want to do is misrepresent truth. So any comments along those lines?
Well, I would like to just go out and tell you thank you very much for what you've done. It's very evident the amount of research and effort and time you put into this, and it should definitely not be taken lightly for the amount of effort of what you have done.
Chairman Holden, I'd also like to say thank you. That information is very eye-opening. I think it really puts into perspective, in my eyes, where this county needs to move. So I want to say thank you for putting in all that hard work, and I really appreciate it. You've done a wonderful job on this, on the research.
I'm sure I'm not going to sugarcoat any of it. And of course, I'm not expected to be a sugarcoater, and I never have been, never will be. You've done a magnificent job, and there's nobody around in the county realizes how many hours you've had put in. I would say of everything that we have reviewed this morning, that greater than 95% was done by you so purposely as the chair. You need to be put on a podium and medal pin on your chest or whatever, or a parade, whatever. But I won't, maybe it may not be proper, but I'm not politically correct. How much of all of this did you receive from their board? I can say safely that you received less than 1% of this information because they didn't even have it themselves. And here is a governing board. That's why that is a part of the spokes of the wheel, or the tentacles of the octopus, that you don't actually see that involves the total operation, is why we're at such a cost that we are right now. And even to a point to where, even though asked or we were given marching orders as a committee by the full total commission, the governing body of this county, to take this on, of the, I'm going to say, the repercussions, the Facebook challenges, the insubordination of county employees to assist, apply, do anything for this, you've carried the burden itself. And I think every commissioner should know that. I think it's just, of course, I've known you for years and your family, and it's just, I expect, I kind of, when I seen this and reviewed it, I thought, that's part of their backbone. They go as far to the quick as they can get the answers that we need. And the other thing, is this, what you have put out here itself to our county chairman there, which is listening. This is something where you may want to consider, because of the length of it and the information of it and how much it is needed, and we feel that it needs to be action taken. quickly because of our budget period coming up, and then for the daily operation, that we go to the workshop just on this topic, because I would hate to think of a county commission meeting with just this topic and what our chairman has given it. It will beat the Humphreys 13-hour domain.
I can definitely set up a workshop if we want to just discuss this and everything to do with the animal shelter, if y'all would like that.
But what's your thought? I mean, you've seen the data that the chair has presented. Do you want to govern over a full county commission meeting with a full agenda and have this just as one of 5 items on your agenda?
Not particularly, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions asked. So
yeah.
But I know everybody's kind of mixed out. But I think with the option of having
Chairwoman Holdren.
Commissioner James, Travis Hill was in the middle of a comment.
Oh,
if we can let him
sorry,
finish.
but breaking up there. Go ahead, Travis.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and there's a lot of facts we've got here on that Ms. Holdren has put together. The answers to a lot of those questions, but I definitely think we can probably get a Zoom meeting scheduled by next week if you all want to do it. I know everybody kind of meeting out, but with the fact we can do it by Zoom, it definitely is a better option than trying to get everybody together right now.
I agree. That way they don't have I'm afraid to get it to the hands-on to it, but may I recommend as a commissioner and as from this committee that, in previous workshop sessions, we only have maybe 2/3 of our commissioners present. And I know that a lot of them, or some of them, would not participate because, well, I don't want to put up a fight. I'm not getting paid for that. That we put it at a state level, minimum state level payment for the this meeting to get their attention to where they're all present, that we can do this together rather than 2/3 and then get into a full meeting and have to go back over things again.
I agree with that. I think we can work on that and probably get that put on. I'm not sure. We need to have that meeting before the February full commission, but can we get? I don't think we can get approval for the money before then, unless we've got enough money extra out there. Maybe Director Burke can address that if we have money available.
Well, let's see. Your budget committee meets what, in 1 week?
Monday. Yes.
Monday. So, well, of course, you have to have full commission in. I'm sorry.
There are sufficient funds available.
Director Burke, how much do we have available?
Well, see, that rate's what, $35?
Yes.
I think it is 35. So you're actually looking less than $1,000, correct?
Yes.
And I think the value of it exceeds what the cost is going to be, and could down the road too.
Yes, I agree.
There is about half of the total appropriation, which is the amount remaining is $33,625.
So we have a decent amount of extra left.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Chairwoman Holdren.
Yes, Commissioner James.
I would like to do this a little different. I would like to put into a form of a motion that we request the chairman to call a special called full commission meeting to discuss this, because I want to have voting powers and get this over with at one meeting, because if we don't do it, they're going to want to go back and beat it out again when we go to vote on it. So I want to get it over with at that meeting. And with that, I would like to put it also in the motion that the Financial Management Committee sends the recommendation that we transition to a 501c3.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to make a recommendation that our animal shelter transition to a 501c3. This, if it passes this committee, will go to a special called full commission meeting where this will be the only topic on the agenda. Am I correct in restating your motion, Commissioner James?
You're correct, Chairwoman.
Okay, what other questions and comments do you have?
Do we want to do it the last week of February? I know we've got another workshop with the city, I believe, that week, and we can hear their point of view on it before we actually vote on it as a full commission. Do we want to shoot for that the last week of February, Austin?
Commissioner Hill, I mean, whenever you want to set it's fine. I personally feel like that if the city would like to weigh in on it, let's invite them to our full commission meeting and open up a comment section for them. I feel like maybe let them come to our full commission meeting, review the material that Chairwoman Holdren has put in place so they know exactly what we're looking at, and then allow them to have a comment session along with us.
Okay, I'll get something worked out.
Chairman Hill, the next joint workshop is actually going to be in March, is when we talked about.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Abby.
Okay, is there any other questions or discussion on the motion on the floor? Okay, Mr. Michael, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Austin James,
Yes.
Travis Hill,
Yes.
Roger Cobwall,
Yes.
Patty Woodby,
Yes.
and Danny McLean.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously to request that our animal shelter become a 501c3. Special called meeting to be held later this month as determined by our Chairman Hill to discuss this topic. So since that means that I am going to be doing the presentation, I would again request strongly that you all fact check my data, that if you see holes in the data, especially if it is a county for which you were originally responsible, will you please reach back out to that county and fill in the holes? Like you noticed today that some of those counties that we most closely identify with, we didn't have information for on those bar graphs. It would be best if we could add that. I would like to go to Director Burke at this time and just ask how long of a process was it for you to come up with the cost per animal per day, sir?
Overall, probably a day and a half.
Okay. So here's the comment that I have towards that particular request of these other counties. If anybody wants to make that request of another county, go ahead and do so. If you get those answers, please have them submitted to me as soon as possible. But you must understand that if it takes a day and a half for our county to do our county, and we're going to ask these other 14 counties to do that same thing, I don't know how much cooperation we're going to get. And I don't think it will be high on their priority list because it's probably budget season everywhere. Their directors are probably swamped. So I don't know that they're going to give us 12 working hours to compute that number. But if they have it readily available, that's a different story. So I'm just going to leave it open like that. I'm not going to task anybody specifically with that, but if that information is obtained by anybody attending this meeting at this time, then please bring it back and we'll get it in the report. Any other comments or questions on the topic of the animal shelter?
Chairwoman Holdren?
Yes.
It might be an easy way to get a close calculation to just find out what their average daily population is, because then you can divide the total budget by 365 days and then divide it by the average daily population. It wouldn't be completely accurate, but it would at least be close. And they should probably know their average daily population right off the bat.
Thank you, Abby. Excellent point. We love you to death, girl. I don't know what any of us would do without you.
Over.
Yes.
One thing I would like to point out is on the figures I come up with, depreciation was taken into account as well as capital asset purchases. So we would need the figures on that basis from these different counties.
Again, we've got to compare apples to apples. So Director Burke, will you state that one more time? And if anybody is going to look into this at all, you need to write this down. Say it one more time, Director.
Okay, the cost calculated for Carter County were arrived at by taking depreciation into account and by backing out any capital asset purchases in the year the figures are for, as well as deducting any donations that are funding their budget and any contributions from a city or other municipality within the county.
So in other words, it's net, not gross.
Correct.
Which could mean as much as 50% or more on the average.
Correct.
I'm wondering then, Director Burke, if these numbers are going to have any bearing on this conversation at all, because there's only 3 total counties out of 15 that are not 501c3. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of donations in most of those. So is that number even going to be useful?
It could be. These figures may be on a full accrual basis, which means they take depreciation and capital asset purchases into account. If they would have some type of financial reports they could send me, I could look over those and make that determination.
Okay. And I'm trying to keep up with you, Brad. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I heard depreciation was taken into account. You backed out the capital asset purchases for that year. You deducted donations from the funding budget. And then I think you said one more thing and I completely missed it.
Any funding received from another governing body, city or anything like that,
is deducted
to arrive at net cost for the county.
Well, Brad, if you took out the other agencies that was part of the budget, that means they get the service free then, because it doesn't even come into your daily operation. How could that be?
In order to determine the county's share of what they're actually paying, funding with taxpayer revenue, you would have to deduct out those contributions, take those off of the expenditures.
Yeah, but on the contributions, you're right, but on what they put into the budget of it, that's part of the total operation cost.
You would have to include that. You'd have to calculate for both the city and the county if you include their donations.
That's right. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Unless there's a final word anybody wants to say, we are going to move on our agenda. Okay. Michael, while you're doing new business, recent bids, I'm going to email Sequoia Group and see if they will be ready right after that, okay?
Works for me. So you guys will not have this because I honestly remembered it when I was rolling in this morning, but the recent bids were not emailed out to you. There was nothing open since last month. We did have 2 bids that we sent out and they're still under review. They have been open, just not actually decided upon. Both bids were for solid waste. One was for Carter County Recycle Center Baler and Conveyor bid. That was opened on Thursday, January 21st, 2021, still under review. I know from when I last spoke with Benny, he's been doing some traveling to look at the vendors, at least one of them. I think they didn't meet the specs exactly, but they were close enough to where he was at least going to review the offerings they had. And then the other bid for solid waste was the Carter County Recycle Center Building Addition. You guys will probably remember this one because this one's been out to bid about 3 or 4 times. We received 2 bids. One of them was just for a door, not the actual project. And the other bid was for the project, but from what I spoke with Benny, I think it was more than what we were hoping for. So we're still in limbo on that project as well. So that's where we stand with recent bids.
Questions? Okay, thank you, Michael. Welcome back, Colton. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Ginger.
How you guys doing? You got a lot on the agenda today, huh?
We're doing okay, but if your news is bad, we may not be able to handle it.
No bad news.
Okay. Fire away then.
All right. Abby, am I good to share screen? Yeah, I already talked a minute ago.
You should be good to go now.
All right, thank you guys for having us today. I got Tim and Kelly in here with me. I know you guys can see them, but yeah, we put this together as a means to kind of get the medical carrier education started. Based off what the dashboard is running, we do know that unless something drastic changes, that we're going to go ahead and start preparing to shop that out. We're waiting on the renewal to come in. Wayne over at Blue Cross said it would be mid to late February. So once that gets in, we'll get the process kicked off. But this is more along the line just to show you guys where we're at from an education standpoint and let you guys know what we're looking at going forward. So on the agenda here, we'll make this fairly quick, talk about concerns, just ease the mind, the utilization reports, doctors within the network, the RX disruption, contract and bid information, and then we'll give a brief summary. That RX disruption and the contract bid information, we're still waiting on the information to be able to talk about that RX disruption. I do know I talked to Michael, and once we get that information, I'm going to send out a revised copy of this so everybody can take a look at it. And then, as we talk with the health and welfare, and then of course the commission itself, we'll be able to bring everybody up to speed with that. And again, if you guys have questions once that revised copy is sent out, always feel free to reach out and talk to us. We're happy to talk about anything that's that's in here. So the concerns piece of it, we're really just wanting to get those off the table so everybody knows where we're at within the carrier search itself. So whenever you're thinking about switching medical carriers, what would be the biggest concerns that crossed your mind? So some of those would be, does the carrier have the best interest at heart? And, some of that misunderstanding comes from the misinformation. Well, I heard Cigna is awful because my aunt has it and they didn't pay what they said they were going to. It's just stuff like that that we want to be able to help inform, not only the committees, but the employees as well as we all take this process on. From the county side, how does it affect my employees? Are they going to be satisfied with this change? Are they going to be taken care of? From an ease of administration, once that, new carrier paperwork and all that stuff, just making sure that, the county and of course, Michael and his team know that Sequoia Group's going to help take care of all that and make it as easy on them as we possibly can. Of course, one of the big concerns for the employees, are my doctors going to change? And that disruption that we'll show you here in just a little bit, we'll have some information on that. And then the prescriptions, am I going to have to change my prescriptions? What are we going to have to do to make sure that we're taken care of from an employee standpoint? So again, education is going to be key. And like I was saying earlier, that misunderstanding does come from misinformation, 95% of the time. So no matter the carrier, they must follow the contract. The deductible is a deductible, the contract's a contract. What's stated in there has to be paid. Signal or Humana, UHC, whatever, they can't just decide what they're going to pay and what they're not going to pay. Whatever's in the contract, they have to do. Anything to add to that?
No, and I think that it's important when we start talking to, these seem like basics, but this is really kind of the talk track to open up, what is really the fear of changing carriers. And these are typically the things that are somewhere in somebody's mind, and that is driving the fear of not wanting to change carriers. So this is just kind of an opening discussion slide to kind of talk through some of these things. And I think the biggest key is doctors' prescriptions, and then letting employees and commissioners, anybody involved, know and understand that a contract is a contract. So as long as the contract language is matching, the coverage is the same. So whether it's Humana, Blue Cross, United Healthcare, Cigna, because 90% of the stories we hear is, well, my brother has Humana and it's terrible, but they don't know what the contract is. So that's kind of key in getting people to understand insurance. Go ahead.
So this was basically just letting you know that the actual data that's in this report or in this presentation is the Carter County information from January 1st of 2019 through December 31st of 2020. The analysis that was performed, utilization of the disruption, the provider disruption, RX is pending, deductible out-of-pocket max utilization, claims management, customer support, billing, and administration. Of course, our goal is to provide factual information based off data to assist in making the best decision. So the utilization with Cigna, Humana, and UHC, the total Blue Cross Blue Shield utilization, there were 8,016 claims. Cigna, whenever we did the disruption, they sent back out of their 2 networks. So that OAP is Open Access Plus, and then the LP is Local Plus. That Open Access Plus is a bigger network, so that's why you see that more of a match there. So of those claims, 7,892 were a match, and that was, of course, 98.45% on the OAP and 97.4% on the LP. Humana had a claims match of 90% that were in network, and that's 7,326. UHC had the best claims match at 8,012. They had a 99.5% match there, and then the 99.6 match to the SSP. There's some more information on that SSP in the next slide. Some of the additional claims that were excluded were due to being ancillary services, so they're under a different type of contract. So that includes acupuncture, durable medical equipment, holistic style treatments, home health, midwife, those sorts of things.
So I'll just jump in on Cigna OAP. Approximately that other 1.5% of not matching is because of those claims being under ancillary services. So that's not really an issue. So what that means is doctors, hospitals, those things are in network with the OAP. When you go get durable medical equipment, acupuncture, those type of services that you're referred, every carrier uses a different vendor for those. So, you know, like lab work, and if your lab work gets sent to certain labs with Blue Cross, it'll be different labs with this carrier, that carrier. So it's not really a provider disruption as much as it is those additional services. So those would be covered by Cigna with their vendor, their approved vendor, if that makes sense.
One of those other questions, are my doctors in network? Total Blue Cross Blue Shield records, there was 1,110. Cigna, the record match there was 1,096, so that's 98.7. LP, 95%. Humana had a match of 840, so it was 90% in network. One of the things that I thought was pretty interesting there in that report back from Humana is that there were actually 141 providers that would be gained that are currently not offered. So I thought that was an interesting piece there. UHC, their match was a 1,104, so again, 99.5% on the match, 99.6. So back to that SSP, that's a shared savings plan. And if they're not in the UHC network, they're still offered some type of discounted fee that's been pre-negotiated. So I thought that was an important point to put in there as well. Phil, you got anything on that? The next one, again, we're waiting on the prescription information. So as soon as I get that, I'll get it uploaded into the presentation and then forward it back out to you guys. Same thing with the contract and bid information. We're still waiting on that renewal information from Blue Cross. So in the summary here, just a quick overview. Medical, Cigna's at 98.7, Humana's 90%, UHC is at 99.5. You can see the RX there, it is pending. Some of the differences that I wanted to just walk through, the reporting capabilities, and that's what we use to be able to provide you guys with that renewal information or the projection information. Blue Cross is top of the line. They have the best reporting information out there, and we get that on a monthly basis. It's only on a lag of from last month. Cigna, Humana, UHC, they all have a 2-month claim lag. So that, in my opinion, puts us at a bit of a disadvantage from a reporting standpoint. But either way, we still get that information. We can still continue to run the dashboard. RX, Cigna offers some free prescriptions that are just completely free to the folks that are on the plan. That includes things like diabetic supplies, heart, what do you call it?
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure.
Cholesterol.
Yeah.
They do a lot of maintenance medications at zero cost to the members, and which can come in big, especially for people on that high deductible health plan. For example, one of the maintenance medicines for diabetes that's on that list is Humalog. Well, Humalog is a couple $100 without a copay. So it's a diabetic medicine. So that is a unique thing that Cigna does do, especially when they're competing against Blue Cross Blue Shield. So anyways, but that's something that we'll definitely request and look at.
And then the last part there, the claims, billing, administration, and carrier systems, they all four typically follow the same style of processes. Carrier systems are a bit different, but we can navigate those. Administration, they're all similar in how they handle things. To me, the X factor is the customer service aspect of it, how well they take care of us to allow us to take care of you. So that's really the thing that I'm also taking into consideration while we're looking at everything. So that's the brief overview of it. And you guys have any questions or anything for us?
Colton and Kelly, Brad Johnson.
Brad.
Just to comment on also on grading these. I'm a retired federal employee, which I'm accustomed to open data month for your selection of your health care service. And the biggest thing when I was an employee was the claim management percentage of the time spans, because they had gotten to a point to where the claim management was so spread out and so long in length that several of the medical professions just almost practically refused to accept their insurance because they were so lagged behind in the claims of it. How do these stand on that?
Well, so when you're talking about when you were a federal employee, are you referencing the insurance that you were on at that time?
No, it's a matter of an open season where we have we've been provided all the information from the various insurance companies such as Cigna and HANA and UMC. And they had all of this data, but the main focus was on the claims management, because in the hospital operation, I worked at a VA, that physicians and specialists were avoiding or not even accepting some of them because they would not complete their claims within 90 days, 120 days, and that percentage became very important.
Right. So kind of with the ACA legislation, it changed a lot of things like that where with carrier transparency. And typically now, if a provider is contracted with a carrier, legally there are terms of that contract that both the carrier and the provider have to adhere to that covers the billing aspect as well, like that they have so many days to submit the bill to the insurance carrier and so on and so forth. I don't know that we have groups with all of these carriers, and they're all fully insured that I'm speaking to. When you get into self-funded can kind of have different review processes, but the review processes and the claims paying seem to be pretty much in line across most of these carriers. I do think that you have hiccups with all of them with certain things if the provider doesn't submit the required paperwork. Now, one thing we have noticed with Cigna that they do differently than Blue Cross with claims management is they will actually notify the member when a claim is being reviewed, which we've started including that in our education when we've moved to Cigna, because Blue Cross may review the exact same claim, i.e. your doctor says you need an MRI for your knee. Every carrier is going to review if that MRI is necessary and if you've done X, Y, and Z to have that MRI. Cigna actually sends a letter letting you know that the MRI has been ordered and it's being reviewed, whereas Blue Cross Blue Shield doesn't. So that's kind of something that's a little different, is they seem to have a little bit more member outreach than what Blue Cross does. But after the Affordable Care Act and the fully insured carrier space, fully insured contracts, we haven't seen a huge difference in claims lag, if you will. Usually if there's like a claims lag, there's a reason for it, like the provider didn't submit everything that was needed, or the provider may not have submitted timely or gotten authorization or something like that per the terms of the contract. But that's why it's key that we look at, Brad, the other thing is the disruption analysis that we're doing is not, most of the disruption analysis that brokers do is like a geo report. It's like a zip code summary, and it's not based on the actual utilization of the group. Everything we are doing is based on the actual utilization, every doctor's visit, every pharmacy. That's why the pharmacy is taking a little longer.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure if that helps or answers. But we'll go back to the carriers and ask for their statistics with your size group and their claims payment turnaround and that type of information, and get that included as well.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Colin.
Thanks, Brad.
Kelly, Commissioner James, I have a question on this year's plan when we come up looking at it, and it may be too much to look at. Is there another option that we can add to the choices? Maybe that we might have a few people opt on that will reduce. Maybe if we look at a high deductible, I know we've got a little higher of a one now, but something maybe if we go 5,000 or 6,000 and then maybe raise the HSA. Now, granted, we're not going to be able to meet it kind of like what we're doing now on that plan, but at the same point in time, just using, for instance, because he's logged in, Mr. Kennedy, he may opt to take the higher deductible and get the more money because he's young and in good shape and doesn't anticipate any problems, and build that higher amount of money in his HSA account and just gamble that he don't use it. Is that something that maybe we could look at to see if that would help reduce some of our costs moving forward?
Well, yes, we definitely can look at that and, run an analysis on it. One thing to keep in mind is Blue Cross Blue Shield, every carrier has what's called a spread requirement. And what that is it's your most rich plan, which would be your all's plan 1 premium, compared to your cheapest plan's premium. With Blue Cross Blue Shield, Network S, their spread requirement is 35%. So your richest plan, your plan 1, and your cheapest plan, which is your plan 3 right now, cannot be over a 35% difference in spread. You guys actually are past that 35%. It's something that we last year went back and asked permission, or not last year, but the year before when we first put in the 3 options. We had to ask permission with underwriting to go past their spread requirement to get those plans in. So it's something we can look at, but if we increase that spread further, it's not going to automatically be approved, if that makes sense. And if what would happen is if you want to pick up the cheaper plan and underwriting won't approve the spread, then you have to take that plan 1 and kind of tweak it and make the premium on it cheaper to close that spread requirement.
So essentially, we'd have to raise the limit essentially on our plan 1. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or change your copays or raise your deductible or out of pocket to make the premium cheaper, to get the spread closer together if you put in a cheaper plan. Now, again, they may approve it regardless. Go ahead.
Well, and, that's something that we may just have to look at. We may just have to push a little more towards the HSA accounts. I know it's something that our employees are holding off on and don't really care for, and I understand to get it, but at the same point in time, the county, I don't know how much we're looking at, but we can't take a huge brunt. I mean, we just don't have a great deal of extra money left over in the budget every year anyways. So, you know, a couple, 2 or 3 years ago when you all first come on, well, I guess a couple years ago, you know, it got real creative and helped in. And so it may be the point in time that now we have to back up and start trying to figure out how to get a little more creative to continue through and still be able to offer the same benefit to our employees, just in a little bit different form.
Right. And go ahead.
Commissioner James, this is Tim. Totally agree with what you're saying. And then also with what Kelly's saying. But really, in essence, what we're talking about here is that the county has been able to provide the employees a $3,300 HSA contribution for the last 2 years. So the employees that, like Michael Kennedy, let's say, and I don't mean to use you, Michael, as an example here, but if he has put in the maximum allowed into that plan, or he's just taken what the county is giving him, and he hasn't had any expenses or anything, he's basically got $6,600 sitting in his HSA account. So what that makes me think, if I'm with Michael, and if Michael was out there just as a consumer, if he's got $6,600 in his savings account, then he can probably take a higher deductible and a higher out-of-pocket max than what he currently has right now. If Michael does that, it's going to reduce the premium of what the county is paying. So therefore, maybe the county gives a little bit more contribution in the HSA in that plan versus the other options that are on the table. And what we've been able to do in years past, with Kelly running the numbers and everything, along with the commission and everything, is come to a win-win solution. So depending on what the renewal comes in at, what the spread is going to be and what the carrier allows us to do, I believe we'll be able to kind of rethink the whole thing, look at 4 or 5 different plans, options, and then pick the best 3 that is a win for the taxpayers, win for the county, and win for the employees. But by all means, what you're speaking of there, Commissioner James, is definitely doable.
And another thing I was gonna go back and circle around on is we did get a little creative last year as well in looking at some funding. We looked at HRA strategies, which are semi-self-funded, where, for example, take that plan 1 with its $500 deductible, and we get $1,000 deductible to Blue Cross, but you guys embed a $500 HRA on the back end. So if the employee doesn't meet their first $500, then the HRA dollar never gets spent. So, you know, and it remains county money. So there are things like that too that we have looked at in the past, and we'll continue to look at every year in terms of being creative, looking at all the options.
And with Kelly bringing up the HRA, this is how I kind of look at it. HSA is real money. HRA is monopoly money. Okay? So we'll talk about that when we go through the process. Okay?
Yeah, Mrs. Travis Hill.
You're recognized, Mr. Hill. Please go ahead.
How many people are actually have met their deductible this year or even last year? Those are hard numbers for last year.
Have you pulled that?
You pulled that. I'm going to.
We haven't pulled that yet.
Okay, I was just thinking.
We'll get that to you.
If you had those last year numbers, I was just thinking, you know, if we don't have a lot of people actually utilizing that the possibility of maybe even doubling the deductible to $1,000, I don't know how much of a deduction in premium that would run.
Yeah, and that's something that we looked at last year, and we pulled the deductible utilization and said, hey, this makes sense, it doesn't make sense, and to look at what your target HRA utilization would be based on, you know, all of those things. And I know last year when we ran the numbers, there was not enough premium savings to offset what your potential exposure on your HRA was. Okay. But every year that can change. The other thing to keep in mind is your renewal with the carrier is always based on your medical loss ratio, which is simple math, claims to premium.
Right.
As we continue, if we keep pushing the envelope with the premium, dropping the premium, like we did the last couple of years, we've really dropped the amount of premium to Blue Cross, and the claims stay the same. We're making that gap worse, if that makes sense too. So there's different ways to look at everything. But yes, we will definitely, going into the renewal, that's something that we always do is pull the deductible and out-of-pocket utilization for the last 2 years and include that in part of our analysis, and especially when we're looking at HRA funding.
Hey, Travis, this is Tim. Usually on what Kelly and I have experienced through the years, it's the old 80-20 rule or 20-80 rule. It's going to be somewhere between 18 to 20% of the employees meet the deductible and out-of-pocket max, give or take a percentage this way or the other. But we'll pull that information. We'll have that. We won't share it with you in regards to by employee, but we have it by employee and by member on the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more data on this for the educational piece and everything. We're just so far out from the renewal right now. And one of the main factors that we're trying to do with this is make it an educational piece for not just you guys in making the best decision, but to send it on out, to take away the fear. The main thing is to take away the fear ahead of time of a different carrier, and just educate people on how it works, that a carrier has to pay by their contract. And, you know, the goal, your current contract with the contract from the other carrier, if we even go that way, you know, but it's just kind of what we had talked about to circle back is, hey, let's go ahead and start educating and taking away some of this fear, some of the unknown. Is my doctor covered? Are my prescriptions covered? Those are the two big ones. And then the third one for members is, like I said, everybody has somebody that they know that, oh, Humana didn't pay my mother's da-da-da-da-da. They're terrible, you know, or Blue Cross didn't pay this and they're terrible. So everybody has those ideas in their head, and they don't understand that sometimes maybe that Humana that was covering their mother was a Medicare Advantage plan. It may not have even been employer contract insurance, you know, or whatnot. So we really want people to understand the contract is the contract, and the carrier has to adhere to that.
So the other thing is, just to add to that, if the analytics and the data that we bring to the commission and to the committee, it's saying that let's go to another carrier, that we're not sitting in a situation here that the employees do not know anything about it. And over the past 3 or 4 years, we've had the opportunity, and two groups come to mind real quick. They were with Blue Cross Blue Shield for 16, 17, 18 years. And Blue Cross Blue Shield was the gold standard. They moved to Cigna, and this past year, it came up. Blue Cross Blue Shield, it came in with a better bid than Cigna, but the employer and the employees wanted to stay with Cigna. That happened in two different groups. Okay, so with the data and the analytics, we say we can move to a different carrier. Then we just want to make sure that the employees are ready to go and there's no fear there from this education piece.
Or remove as much as possible. There always will be until it gets going, but the main thing is to uncover everything ahead of time. And like I said, you know, like I was telling you, Brad, we do everything based on your actual utilization. So that way we can say, hey, Dr. Smith, it will not be covered or whatever.
Okay. Sequoia, this has been great. Thank you for prepping us for what's to come. I feel like we all have a better understanding and can start maybe squelching some of the fears a little bit now. So thank you very, very much. Any closing remarks from anybody?
Ginger, I'll just say as we get the data in, as the data keeps coming in and we keep updating this, we will get it back out. Yeah. Revised, sent back out to you guys.
We know you will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being with our long meetings.
No problem. Good luck, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye. Bye. Okay. Financial management. We are 2 hours past our last break. We could take a 5-minute break, or we can just kind of zip through the rest of this as fast as possible. What's your pleasure? Zip. Zip. Okay, I've got one saying 5 minutes and one saying zip. Patty, I think the 5 minutes is going to have to win because it might be a need.
Okay.
Okay, 5-minute break, everybody. And I want dedicated burgers, everything. And I'm gonna order fries, one and order things. I want burgers. Go to bed. Grateful. Yeah. Right here. No, you can I go find more. Grateful you in my room. Okay. Crystal can just brown outfit. Crystal can just brown outfit.
Hey, Roger.
Yes.
Hey, I know I think our guy that drove the T-Dot truck up in Hampton, I think he passed away about a month ago. Do you know how come they're not scraping or salting any of the roads around the lake?
Travis, they should be up there, but I don't know why they're not today. Is that this morning or all the time?
Well, I got a call about a month ago when it snowed up around the lake and up going toward Elk Mills was nothing but a sheet of ice. Like, I hadn't even been touched, and I got a bunch of calls this morning that it's still a sheet of ice around the lake. So I don't know. I told them I'd find out.
I can check with the supervisor and get back with you after this meeting's over. I don't. They should be up there. I don't know. That
black guy down here.
I've been told that Dillard Richmond is supposed to be on that route, but I'll just have to check to make sure.
Okay. That sounds fine. Like I said, I told them I'd just check. They contacted me this morning wanting to know, said it was pretty bad around through there. So I said, well, I'll talk to Roger. I know it's not their responsibility, but maybe he knows, if they're just shorthanded or what's going on.
I'd assume that they've always had someone around the lake and up on the US 321 through there. They've always had that, and they should be somebody. But I can check and see if they've had to change their schedule or anything. I'll do that for you.
Thanks, Roger.
You're welcome. Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
You gonna be in it's Brad Burt. Are you going to be in the office after lunch? After we get done?
I am.
I've got affidavits I need you to sign and get notarized where I'm working with the TDOT's local government program.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to note that a couple of people have left us, but we still have 5, so we still have a quorum for any votes that need to be taken. I'm trying to keep our agenda as short as possible. I'm sorry, this is never by choice that it gets to be this way, people. So let's go ahead and get back together and move on to new business, which is item number 7 on your agenda.
Brad, do you want me to cover this?
Go ahead.
So as you guys will see, there's a letter on page 33 of the financial management packet that I sent out. And this increase has already been adjusted automatically by our credit card from 14,000 to 20,000. They do this just like with personal cards. If there's a box out there that they can go ahead and increase it if they think your account's been perfectly handled, which they're saying ours as, they'll go ahead and increase it for us. So our credit card was increased from 14 to 20,000. So we're just trying to ask you guys for approval so we can get that record on the actual policies and procedures, because you'll notice that when we get to that later on at some point, that we do have to keep up with all credit cards out and the limits that each of them have. So.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve this credit limit up to $20,000. And a second. Did you get both of those, Michael?
I'm not sure who the second was because there was a couple of them.
I think it might have been Mayor Woodby. Was it?
I made the motion. I think Travis did the second.
Okay, sorry, got it backwards. Okay. All right, any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, I have one for Michael. Michael, which one of the credit cards is it? Is this for the general overall purchase, or is this specialized or is it a departmentalized?
So Brad and myself both have a credit card here that's for the general county. This one specifically is actually the one that's in Brad's name. And it's used by all offices in the county, all the way from EMA to the elections office. Anytime anyone needs to buy anything that they can't just go to Lowe's or Home Depot or something that we have an account with, they use this card in lieu. So it's used by pretty much everyone in the county.
So with even a single purchase could be up to 20,000.
Yeah, that would most likely not happen, and we would definitely try to avoid anyone ever doing that, because then it would obviously limit the card from being used at all for the rest of the month. So, but yes, obviously, if we have a increased limit of 20,000, could be used as a one-time purchase.
Okay, with that, would you and Brad please send me your passport? I mean, you get to a certain limit. I mean, you will fly away, but just send me your passport when you get this approval.
Sounds good.
Is it possible to deny the increased limit? Could we call the company and tell them we don't want it? Thanks anyway.
I'm sure we could probably call them and ask them to take the limit back down to where it was before. I see no issue against that. That would be what you guys want. What do you think, Brad?
If I remember correctly, it's been at this limit for several years. And we did have a situation where I had to actually call in and request an increase. You know, I didn't request a specific amount. The lady told me it had to be decided by them how much the increase would be. And this is what we got in the mail as a result. At that time, we were just needing maybe $1,000. And the sheriff's department and some of the other departments do have their own credit card now. But I think workforce development uses the credit card quite a bit. Planning and the election commission.
That's Roger. I really the amount on the credit card, whether it's 20,000, does not matter, because you still got the procedures to make a purchase, which starts at $10,000. You have to get 3 bids up to 20,000, and then the finance office has to approve all purchase orders. So the amount, raising the PO to $20,000 is really not a problem with finance.
You're correct, Roger.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Kennedy, we will vote now, sir.
1 second, I apologize. I'm trying to see which members are still available. So Brad Johnson?
Yes.
Kendra Holdren?
Yes.
Patty Woodby?
Yes.
Travis Hill?
Yes.
And is Austin still here by chance?
He is not, and we lost the school system.
Okay. That would be all ayes, and I think that's only 5 of you guys.
I didn't
let me have a third.
Rogers, well, I apologize.
That's an aye too.
Okay, so motion passes with 5 yeses present. Okay, agenda new business item number 8. I believe, Brad, you'll probably lead this discussion on your recommendation on the capital projects fund. You're muted, buddy.
All right. I would like to request this as we start off, that this fund be established to account separately for these for any fund, these sales tax or any other funds that are set aside for capital project purposes for the county school department.
Have they currently just been going into the school's general fund?
Yes. And the schools do have other capital outlay and capital projects, and sometimes it's hard to makes it a little bit difficult to distinguish between the two. So having it separately will accomplish many goals, and one of the goals is to alleviate that confusion.
Okay. Would anybody like to make that motion?
This is Roger. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, so the motion is to establish an education capital projects fund, which will be numbered 177. Motion by Cobal, second by Woodby. Mr. Kennedy, when you're ready.
All right. Give me one more second, guys. All right. Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Patty Woodby,
Yes.
Roger Cobal,
Yes.
Travis Hill.
Yes.
I think I got everybody this time, right?
Yes, you did. Okay, thank
Just real
you.
quick, I was going to let the committee know, and Brad too, there's currently a House Bill 48 that's in committee right now with the legislature that Representative Hawk, I talked to him and he's trying to get through. It's going to redirect 80% portion of the tax revenue, the privilege tax on sports gaming from lottery for education account, an account created for distribution of public schools for the construction and maintenance of school buildings. So that's in committee right now. They're trying to get that portion of that tax pushed to the schools, and it's getting some good push behind it. So that's just a tidbit of information on that from the legislature.
Awesome.
Yeah, very good. Okay, Mr. Burke, do you have any updates that we haven't already covered this morning?
I do have a couple other comments in regards to the current setup, current method of allocating a portion of the county's 50% of sales tax collections. And like I'll be covering some things I've already covered earlier in the previous discussion. But a motion was passed by commission, as I said, back in 2008, to take a portion of the county's 1/2 share and direct that for education capital projects as stated in the motion. And those funds are being shared. The county's share of the county's 50%, a portion of that is being shared with the city school systems. And I believe at the least that the motion should be more detailed, more specific. If those funds are to be used only for county school education capital projects or distributed on the ADA. And I hope Josh is still on here. We've discussed this some, and I think he actually brought something related to this up back a few years ago. Whereas it currently stands, this is my understanding of current situation with sharing sales tax or property tax for that matter, and some other local taxes, is the requirement that they be shared on an ADA basis between the county and city school system. But the language in the statute does say operation and maintenance of school systems. It does not address capital projects, which is not a regular and ongoing thing that occurs. Therefore, the county commission could choose to direct all those sales tax to this education capital projects fund, or retain that whole 50% and dedicate some other revenue to this capital projects fund that would not even be close to having to be shared with the city school systems, or assign another tax to it, such as property tax, in an amount that will be estimated to be the annual 18% of that 50% for education capital projects. I do think, no matter what, there needs to be at least some more clear details and specific notes on the desires of the county commission for that county revenue. Are you there, Josh?
He had to leave, Mr. Burke.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes. Do we need to push this out, or would you prefer not to? Do you want to wait till he can be with us?
Oh, I prefer that. Yes.
Okay. And I suppose it needs to come through this committee as opposed to budget?
I would think so.
Okay, well, I hate to put you off for a month, but it looks like that might have to be the case here.
That's fine.
Okay, and Mr. Burke, this is not my strong suit, so I might need, I don't know if there's any way you can send the whole committee a little bit more discussion, anything you could think of to do that might help us understand a little bit better would be great.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Brad, one of your nice little cheat sheets in normal person terms would help me.
Yeah.
Just bring it down a few levels.
Yeah. Sales tax for dummies, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get something out.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
All right.
Does that conclude your report?
It does.
Okay. Thank you, Director Burke. Miss Mayor Whitby.
Well, I don't have a lot. I won't take much time. I'm just kind of going to update everybody on the vaccines and the testing. Just some numbers. As you know, we're going down, and nobody really has any idea why. As of January, we had 562 cases. January 31, we have 176 in Carter County. So we have dramatically dropped from January 1 to January 31. But we've had the highest death rate this month. We've had 46 deaths, and that's the highest month we've had. So, and then on a brighter note, we've had 4,505 individuals tested or vaccinated, I'm sorry. And of those, 1,240 have received their second dose. And that number's I think going to be skewed a little bit too, because we have had several residents go to Sullivan County and get vaccinated, and the VA. So those numbers are probably a little bit higher than what the health department is reporting. And we're getting more shipments of the vaccination in. It's the health department's getting more information. We actually have a detail of at least 3 days in advance now instead of 1. So I know today they're doing second doses, and tomorrow they're getting 350 doses of the Moderna in for first vaccinations also again. So it's getting a little bit more detailed and precise than when we first started. So it's moving good. It's positive. And the vaccination line is moving well. They're waiting, I think, no more than 30 minutes. They're sending out the invitations through text and phone calls. And I think today, and I could be wrong, but I think most of our teachers should receive their second dose today. So that's kind of just an update on the vaccinations and where we're at on positive cases. And I don't really have much else unless anybody has anything for me.
I think that just goes to show that it was the over 75 group didn't social distance themselves. And that's why now that they're vaccinated, our numbers are coming down. Isn't that right, Johnson?
Yeah, that's the party idiots. Yeah, they're the party. They're the ones who used to have hair down to their eyebrows, you know.
Thank you, Mayor Woodby.
You're welcome.
Okay, Superintendent Cobalt, take it away.
There's one thing I want to mention is our snow and ice control this year is taking a lot of material and time, and it's a lot worse than it was the past 2 years. So we've got 2 projects coming. Well, one's a project, one's snow and ice. One we need to repurpose our salt brine that we've used or chat and stuff. And our line item for crushed stone, which we get that out of, is getting very low. And plus, we have a contract with Natural Resources to do work on Gap Creek and Storny Creek. Storny Creek's out there at Danner Subdivision Road. Gap Creek's over where the creek washed out, I guess, last year. And we need to get this project done by April the 15th if we can get an Army Corps of Engineer permit, which we like. But anyway, I'm going to ask the Budget Committee to move $50,000 for these 2 deals from our asphalt line item to our crushed stone line item. And this, of course, this asphalt this $50,000 will be coming out of our original budgeted asphalt money. That's it. Got any questions about it?
Hey,
Hello?
Roger. Hey, Roger, do you
Yeah.
mind sending me over an email or something officially requesting that so I can get it put into the actual budget agenda?
I emailed Brad and Marcia this morning about that. I can forward you the same one.
No, that's fine. I'll get with one of them.
Okay. All right.
So I guess I didn't realize how bad it was because on my end of the county, it's been a very mild winter. So I guess it's not mild everywhere else, huh?
We've had a lot of this temperature, the way the temperatures ranged, it's staying around 32, 34 degrees. So it's mostly in the mountains that we've had the problems with. But if you remember, we had that one event where the temperature dropped down into the teens, and it was all over the county at that time. But most of it has been in the mountains. We're in the mountains right now with snow and ice, pushing snow off the roads.
Okay. Hey, Roger, down here in the Happy Valley District, has anybody contacted you about their concerns about the creek at the softball and baseball fields?
Yes, I have been contacted by one individual, but what he wanted done is in the city, plus it's on private property, and we could not help on that situation. Now, the school department down there, we've helped them before in front of Happy Valley School, and I think they've got it in pretty good shape right now, but the school department has not contacted me.
Okay. I know even, just me driving by, I can see quite a bit of erosion of the bank on one side that's visible to me. And those families are so worried that their kids are going to lose another baseball, softball season. I appreciate if the time comes, anything you can do. Hopefully you won't have to do anything. But thank you very much for what you've already done in the past on that situation.
You're welcome. If the school department asks me to go down there, of course, I think I can, the way we're set up. So yeah, we can, especially in an emergency like that. If they notifies me, I'll be glad to help.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. And I believe we've lost all of our school representation. So James is gone. That brings us to you, Commissioner Hill, Vice Chair.
I have nothing to comment on other than thank you for your hard work and all that presentation you did. That's very commendable. Thank you.
You all don't need to thank me for that. And it's my turn to speak now. And I'll just say, I'm already getting requests from other commissioners to see the report from this morning. I mean, do I have committee approval, or do I need to wait until you all do some fact checking and wait and present it at the special called commission meeting? I don't know what's the right thing to do here.
Surprised it's still under our umbrella until you report out to the full commission.
I agree. We keep it until, till the special called meeting.
All right. That will be my response. I thank all of you all. And again, I apologize for the length of these. Michael and I are going to work together to keep these meetings as short as we possibly can. That's our goal for the next month, isn't it, Michael?
Yes.
Okay.
Chairwoman Holdren?
Yes, Abby.
Whenever we get ready to do the special call meeting, if you want, you can send that to me and I'll send it out as a packet for like we do for the regular meetings. And that way they can at least see it for a couple of days.
Yes.
So that way they can form questions.
Yes, Abby, that will be done. Thank you very much.
You will make it hard to copy, won't you, Abby?
Yes, for you, Brad, I will.
Thank
You and Willie.
Well, at least I ain't in a boat by myself, too.
Okay,
Here,
Mr. Brad. Yeah, yes.
Do you care if once this gets sent out, we send it out to the city council as well, so if they attend our workshop or actually our full commission meeting, that they can view it as well?
When it comes to you from Abby, would it be okay if you forward to them? Would
Yes.
that work?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. So
Thank
Chairman Johnson, you have closing remarks.
Just I won't tip my hat off to you for great work, but those that complain and think it's too long or our agenda, then remember their name and we'll nominate them for sure the next time when we won't leave. That'll break them from sucking eggs, and I'll tell you. Yeah. No further. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So be
So
it.
move.
Okay. Motion by Hill, second by Johnson. All in favor, sign off.
See y'all. Thank you.
Bye.